Okay, we are now recording and live to YouTube.
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday, 24 March 2023, and this is a Friday. I'm so used to saying Wednesday. Thank you. We don't want it to be Wednesday, do we?
We don't.
Okay. So it is Friday, 24 March 2023, and this is the regular board meeting of the Waterville Valley Select Board. And I am the chair, Rich Rita. Here today is Vice Chair Bob Freeze and member Wendy Rathgeber. Am I getting closer?
Very good.
So I just go Wendy R. That may save me.
Yeah.
So we have a quorum. So the first thing is privilege of the floor. If anybody is here to talk about the noise ordinance or a review of the capital reserve sense of the meeting, both they are agenda items. Now I know Amy, you would ask to go early because you're on drugs. You didn't say why. And yes, I would set you up. Thank you, Chief. Now, but I think we ought to wait until Mark comes for that discussion. So I'm sorry. Please give us a little leeway there. And if you're willing to pass out whatever you have to everybody else, be a quicker meeting, maybe.
I just so you know, I've heard his position. I want to hear your position.
Okay, great. Thank you. So shall we move first to approval of the minutes?
I had a privilege of the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to say if anyone has something other than those two issues, please bring it forward. Yes.
I had a few people tell me when the town meeting was postponed that they didn't receive notification. How do you receive notification?
Okay.
Or someone thought, well, that was postponed, so the election was postponed. And I know I received an email from the town, and a lot of people did, but there are some people I'm finding that did not know they could put themselves on a list to receive emails.
Oh,
from the
okay.
Town can, and I've asked Mike to put a blurb in the wigwag about how people can add their email to the list so they get notified in future. But can that also be included in a next mailing that the town does to say, you know, if you want to be included, here's.
Yeah, I don't see
Here's
why
how to
not.
do
I
it.
mean, not the tax, we can't put it in the tax
I mean,
mailing.
why don't
But we
we
can-
tell people, remind people also about the community forum there on Tuesday, every other Tuesday at the same time.
Yeah, no, we could do that. We'll do it in the next, I think, water, sewer, trash bill.
I didn't know that it
Yeah.
was postponed and drove through the storm on Tuesday to come. Another person thought they didn't vote because they assumed that was also postponed.
Oh, that's
My
unfortunate.
husband didn't get email. I told him, what? You don't know
Right.
that you can get email? So,
No, we can reiterate the various avenues, put yourself on this list. It's also noted in the watervillevalley.org. We can repeat that website that you can go to the town website and double check before you leave to drive in a snowstorm.
Right.
Would be another way of if you're not here and you don't see it like posted at the post office, but yeah, if you could put that down, Steve, or
Sure thing.
so January, March, are we going out with a mailing soon on the water sewer bills?
First, second week in April.
Yeah, so we can put it in there. Patty, I think that would,
and a related
Mhm.
topic, when someone asks a question on the contact form from the website,
mhm.
how should they expect a response? Or does it depend on who the question is for?
Yeah, or perhaps what the question is as well. So if it's to the select board, Mark usually prints those out and gives them to us for us to respond at a meeting, a regular meeting. But it depends on the nature of the question. I think a lot of the questions you get are handled by town staff, right? They're more operational in nature. Or, you know, public safety or public works type of
So
questions.
they'll get a response, but if it's for the select
Board,
they
it's,
should wait
we-
for a meeting?
yeah, we usually get copies, unless there's something emergent about
And
the
then,
question.
and then we'll review it at a meeting like this.
So
So
that,
they
yeah,
won't get an email response, they'll get a response.
at the meeting. Yeah, I don't think we send out email responses to any of those. That we've received
We may
your,
wanna Post that on that contact page, that if it's
Okay.
a question for the select board,
Yeah,
in lieu of a direct response, you'll get a response
Okay,
at the meeting.
no, that's a good fix. I mean, I think it would be the same with planning board too. I mean, I assume it would go to the chair. I mean, this town staff would send it along to the
Just a
chair.
little on that about how, what kind of response the
Okay.
person would expect, I think would be helpful to people, so they don't feel they're being ignored.
Responsive government? You know?
No, I know you guys respond, because I come here and I.
Yeah,
I
no,
hear
no.
it,
So, but yeah, a little
Yes.
explanation ahead of time would probably help. Well, definitely, would help. Anything else? Could, when you get I think we have a non-public after this, but I don't want to take the time now, but it's one thing I need to talk to you about. So maybe if I send you an email and we set up a time just to
Sure.
get together and talk, that would be,
Yeah.
that would be good. Any other privilege of the floor? Okay, so we've done privilege of the floor.
We deferred on noise and Amy until you got back. So,
Okay.
and it's also an agenda, right?
It's also an agenda,
Very
but Amy is suffering from the effect of dental work and she asked if she can go. And drugs there apply.
Well, that's basically a very good way to come to a selectmen's meeting.
It's gonna be painful anyway, right? Or do you mean drugged up?
Drugged up.
All right, okay.
Absolutely.
So she's asked if she can go at the beginning, so I'll just move up. This is item 7B under new business. So for the listening viewing audience, Amy would like the select board to respond to the sense of the meeting question that she authored at our town meeting back on the 5th that we held on the 15th of March. And I meant to bring it along with me, but I did not. I wanted to read it, but it was passed overwhelmingly. This is a non-binding vote sense of the meeting. And the gist of it was, would you prefer that the town build up capital reserves, that is monies for put in accounts for capital purchases, as opposed to the current procedure that the town has pursued for decades, which is to bond, i.e. borrow money for most of those, not all, some of those we just pay with cash, depending upon whatever the purchase is. And therefore, we would be at the whim of whatever the interest rate is at the time. So did I get the sense, and that was overwhelmingly agreed to at town meeting. So the question is, what is the board's response to this sense of the meeting vote, and what is the path forward on it? So I don't know if you had a presentation you wanted to make, Amy, but you just wanted to hear.
The two
Okay.
biggest pieces of it is that we don't know what interest rates are gonna be in the future. So by not saving now and coming to the time of purchase, since we haven't saved, we have no choice but to borrow. And that's called interest rate risk, which I don't think we should be exposing the town to. We can always save money and decide we would still borrow. I don't know why we would do that, but that would still be the option at the time of purchase. And then we could use that money for something else via a warrant article.
Yeah, we'd have
This
to,
way-
we'd have
this
to
way
change,
we're not
right?
Stuck. Interest rates are coming up, they're pretty high now, and they. We don't want that kind of exposure. If I took the currency of this, that's the interest rate exposure piece. The other issue is plain old cost. I took the current capital improvement plan and I handed this out. And I figured out just for the current capital improvement plan, it doesn't include any old debt, it doesn't include the wastewater treatment facility, which was completely unplanned. I'm only referring to planned items which could save money. I calculated that in the first 5 years, we will, at today's rate, assuming 20-year debt, we would pay $875,000 in interest expense over just the next 5 years. So that seems like a big number to me. That's, over 5 year, kind of what we pay for the rec department. So Those are the 2 points, is the interest expense and the risk.
I think what you left out is the impact on the tax rate. I think you've said,
I hear you.
is everybody in favor of saving money? Everybody raised their hand. But when you tell them what the impact is on the tax rate each year for the next 4 years, it might be a different answer.
Well. the
And
thing is,
I think you didn't present both sides of it. I'm not opposed to saving money, but I think in order to make an educated decision, the people have to know that their tax rate might go up $1, $1,000 or something in order to save to achieve what you want to achieve per year for the next 4 years. So I think that's.
I thought of that. I thought about that and I was considering I actually did present the saving. I didn't put it in terms of tax rate, but I did present, here's what happens if we save. Here's what happens if we borrow. And bottom line, whether we save or borrow, we're paying the same amount for that truck or whatever. It's still the same $1 million. But if we borrow, the tax rate goes up more because we pay the interest expense as well.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was clear enough I didn't want to, especially since I was presenting at 11:30 at night, I didn't want to complicate things. I was trying to keep it really easy. And I think people get that when you save money, you earn interest. When you borrow money, you pay interest.
Okay,
So-
but I'm just saying that in order to put the money aside, you're gonna have to increase the tax rate each year.
Absolutely, but you will not have to increase it as much later when you borrow the money.
True, but I
I think
think
it's
I think both sides have to be presented.
Yeah, it's a little short-sighted because it's assuming that people don't care about the future, they care about the next 4 years. Maybe, but
I mean, some would. I mean, I'm planning to sell, let's say I'm planning to sell my house in 4 years.
right.
Well, it is a little bit of a philosophical,
Better good for the town.
it's a little bit of a philosophical debate as to who should pay for the capital acquisition. The people who potentially won't be using it 5 or 10 years from now because they won't be here for one reason or the other, or the people who will use it. And I mean, this is part of the discussion we've had, and that's why we've waited and bonded, especially with low interest rates, because then the people who are using that particular piece of equipment or what have you are the ones who are paying for it, even though it does, as you very well showed, cost the town in the long run more money. So no,
On
go ahead.
that, on the
Yeah.
concept of paying before and after, I do have one more thought. Let's say we're talking about a fire truck. Fire trucks last 20 years. Let's say we are in between the years. Let's say we're 10 years. In 10 years, we need to buy a new one, and we bought another one. We bought one 10 years ago. I sit there as a taxpayer and I think to myself, what's really important is that I have a fire truck. And it's important that I'm paying for the use of that fire truck because I'm benefiting from it. Do I really, besides the double dipping issue, which is a temporary implementation issue, do I care if I'm paying for the last fire truck or the next fire truck? If it means we're going to be paying a lot more money in the long run, $877,000 over 5 years,
Mhm.
I would probably say, I'm okay with saving for the next fire truck, because what can I do with $877,000 at today's rate?
Yeah.
When rates go up, we're talking about $1 million over 5 years. What could we have? Town hall, the property we were talking about. We could fund the rec department. We would save, not only would we save a lot of money, but we would probably save a lot of time talking.
Well,
Well, we'll find something else to talk about,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
but
But I do understand the logic that there are people who would say, I don't care about 5 years from now, but I think that we should always
Right.
be paying for these things.
Okay, it's
And
paying
there-
forward, right?
Now, there is an issue, there is which has not been brought up yet, but I believe, I've thought it through. Is that if we are paying for fire truck after the fact, because we borrowed for it, and we start saving for that fire truck now, we'll be double dipping. There will be people who will say, I don't want to pay for two fire trucks. I completely get that, and that's a unavoidable short-term issue. And what I would suggest is we just do this slowly. We don't have to save up enough for the fire truck we're gonna buy in 2 years. Just start building up the cash and capital reserves, maybe we do 50-50, maybe it's 25-75 for a few years, and then 50-50, and eventually you get to the point where you have the choice to borrow. But right now, you're not even giving us a choice. What happens is we go to the meeting and there's a warrant article up there that says, hey, we need a fire truck, and guess what? Gotta borrow it all.
I suspect once we get into the budget discussions next fall.
Yeah.
That'd be the appropriate time to talk about how much we want to put aside and.
And another suggestion I would have is that I understand the unassigned fund balance. And I understand where that comes from and what it is, and that's your daily balance. You can't use the 3.5 million, obviously, because the balance goes up and down, and you don't want to run out and get it. But we were willing to spend $300,000 this year, which is what you guys assigned to warrant articles. One of those warrant articles did not pass. You were hoping to spend up to 50K on the Stories of Waterville project, and that didn't pass.
Mhm.
So I know right now there's $50,000 worth of unassigned fund balance, which for you guys to understand is when the budget comes in under actual, you have extra from the fire. So yeah, you paid for it, but it was, you don't have to raise the tax rate because you paid for it last year.
It's a savings account,
It's just, yeah, it's a.
kind of a savings.
Well, it's a check
I
back.
know
It's a checkbook
balance.
Right.
$50,000. Which you
Right.
didn't approve, so it's there.
Right.
And I know that every year you usually come with a smart, you guys do a great job of forecasting, and usually you come in about $250,000 below the budget, which makes sense. You've been very conservative. So I would suggest that there's probably $300,000 of funds that you could apply to the capital reserve. But it would mean not being able to put it on certain warrant articles. It's still money being spent, but you have the choice. You could put that into the capital reserves.
Okay.
And
But
it's just a suggestion.
Not right now,
I know.
next year,
Right.
next year. in
Well, let me-
20%.
Let me,
Yeah.
I
Wendy,
know.
let me just, I think Wendy's been trying to get in here.
Yeah, my only thought was along the lines of what you're saying, Amy, we can't do it all at once. And I think it would, if we were to look at that, when we're looking at the budget, make more sense to look for those types of things like the vehicles, which are in consistent use. I
Mhm.
think in my mind, what people would start to struggle with is if we're,
Wastewater
working
treatment.
towards a new town hall or a rec department. And if they're not, they're saving for 20 years ahead of time and optimistically to reach that point,
Mhm.
they won't be seeing it at all because, for a lot of people, 20 years is hard to fathom. Yeah, I think that's where we'd hit a stumbling block.
Absolutely.
I think,
I completely agree that this is going to require some thinking and some implementation. I understand it's only something you do once a year because it's too late now. For this past year, we've got to wait till the warrant articles,
Yeah.
but
well, I think not all the way to the warrant articles. I mean, I think the solution is, and I think Bob and I, we haven't talked, we're not allowed to talk in case anyone wants to know. We can't talk about town business because of right to know law. So we don't talk about these things ahead of time. We kind of have to figure it out on our own. So because two of us makes a quorum and therefore we have to call a public hearing. Any event, I think the solution that we all came to was that you're making extremely good and important points, and that starting the next budget cycle, which will begin September-ish,
October.
September, October-ish, when we start, by then, first, we will have a solid or a more solid capital improvement project plan from the planning board as to, because you know how things on the CIP move around,
yes.
get put on and taken off. So the planning board, the CIP committee will be reviewing and giving to the select board their view of the next 6 years. In particular, we concentrate on the next year, which would be 24, but we're also looking at the 6 years after that. So we'll have a list of the things that it's not just the CIP, it's what the planning board voted on to recommend to the select board consider in the funding process. And, you know, whether we do it by taxes, whether we do it by cash, whether we do it by bond. I think once we know what those things are, we can sit down as part of the process and decide, okay, on this particular item, that will this fit well for a capital reserve? What will the impact be on the tax rate? You know, and that at that time too, we'll have a good idea of what the tax rate is going to be.
Mhm.
And that really does drive a lot of the decision making. This year, we were faced with, I think, $1.37 increase, a 21% increase.
Well, that's not
Yep.
really gonna happen for a couple of years, but yeah.
Well,
we had a big.
We had a big increase this year, and hopefully, you know, fingers crossed.
I just want to make sure we're not allowing it to go up a lot more in the future because we're just saying, oh, we're just gonna borrow for everything and.
No, and I think
Focusing
you-
on the tax rate today, recognizing that it'll go up even more in the future.
and that is the trade-off, and it's not it's a negative trade-off because you're paying more money. But you know, we have to live in the moment, so to speak. So when we put the budget together, I think we can certainly look at what monies we may want to put in capital reserve for something that's not in 24, obviously, but maybe 25, 26 and a little and a little-
6 and 7.
a little further downstream. And then we can have that discussion or debate. I mean, these will be, you know, part of our regular meetings. We'll have a public hearing about it, whatever we decide. I mean, and you can come in and yell at us because we didn't do the way you thought we should have done it, or say, good job. Be nice if someone said good job on occasion, but you know, whatever. And you know, there are other possibilities within this too. For example, we can take an item and say, all right, we're not sure. Do we want to bond it? Do we want to pay for it with taxes? Do we want to put money away in a capital reserve? We can put that warrant article together and say, okay, town, it's your choice,
Mhm.
right? Do we want to put money away for this over the next 5 years, whatever the amount is, get it and have a discussion what that means for the current tax rate? Or are we going to decide to bond it? I mean,
So would that
we
be
could,
two warrant articles? You
Yeah.
approve one and-
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
got it.
yeah. I mean, it could, so the town could then decide. So, you know, we would like to make as many decisions as possible. I mean, that's kind of our
Yeah.
job. We don't want to, it
Or-
is, well, it is a problem, right? I mean, I've been on the other side of town meeting too, where, you know, it's like, wait a minute, you know, it's either take it or leave it, you know, there's no real third, doesn't seem to be a third way, or I don't know if any of these things were discussed. And so, but that's the nature of the beast of direct democracy too.
Okay.
So I think maybe that's a solution to what you're proposing.
One additional suggestion that I can offer to you is that, and I think you guys have already decided to post the capital improvement plan on the website so people have access to it, because if I had to ask for it to get it, and that can't be easy on you, the town, getting these requests. So if it's gonna be posted, then people will see, oh, here's what the plan is, and here's how much it will be. And what I want to offer to you is once you reviewed the capital improvement plan, or
Mhm.
at some point in the process, I'm happy to take it, get a current rate from the municipal bond rate board, and calculate the interest expense going out. You know what I'm saying, or even calculate what it would have been in interest income, or I can give you if-thens right on that report. So people will see, here's the borrowing that's assumed, here is the, what it's gonna be in interest expense, here's what it'll be in the tax rate if we want to put it in the tax rate. terms.
Mhm.
Now and
Sure.
out 20 years, and we
Sure.
can include that on the CIP. If you want, it's up to you, but if anything, I'm willing to help.
Yeah, I don't know if the CIP gets into budgeting at all. That's not a planning
But
board.
that's where that was where I'm getting the. When I looked at the CIP, it showed that everything would be borrowed, not everything, but it showed what was gonna be borrowed for. It felt like.
There are assumptions
That
made, right?
decision, right, was made there, and I was told that
Yeah.
they had input into that, so.
Yeah, but it is a recommendation to the select board, and ultimately it's a select board who decides. Or which decides what the funding source will, or even if they go ahead. I mean, we move things around. And I
Absolutely.
think this last budget season, we were looking at moving several things forward on the CIP. Because we know this $2 to $3 tax rate bump for 29 years is coming, probably starting in 2027. So we were wondering, are there things in that time frame that we want to move forward now and just bite the bullet of the $2 or $3 tax rate increase over the long haul, rather than waiting until 27, having the $2 or $3 tax rate for the wastewater treatment plant, and on top of that, a fire truck or a town hall or dredging or what have you.
Maybe not.
But anyway,
I agree, the wastewater treatment facility was completely unplanned, unfortunate. Nothing we can do about it, I just want to avoid having another one like it, because we can
Okay.
pay for all sorts of things. And I'm also suggesting that we're not necessarily saving out just 6 years. But we should be looking out 10 years and say, when are we buying the next 5, you know?
sure. No, I think we're all in
and
agreement.
starting to save, then we wouldn't have as
Right.
big of a wastewater treatment facility issue today.
All right. Thank you. Does Wendy or Bob, anything further you'd like to say? Thank you. We really appreciate it. You've given us a lot to think about. And as I said, we will incorporate it into our budgeting process and thinking and starting in the fall.
So so you're saying that you will consciously look at whether or not to do capital reserve versus borrowing going forward in the budgeting process?
Yes, yeah. I mean, well, for specific items and then seeing what the impacts are as part of the budgeting process. And that'll all be in regular meetings and in public hearings and so forth. Absolutely. Okay. All right. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, very much.
I'm gonna go put ice on the thing.
All right. So, I guess we're back to approval of minutes. I didn't get to the 22 February, but I got to the 8th February. Did everyone okay with the 8th February? I provided some, I think Sharon got back to me and said she made the changes that,
A movie or something.
Sorry, 8 February,
8
you
February.
got the members, correct?
yes, those are, I had her make, ask her to make, I think there were three changes.
Okay. did that-
Those were 2 of them. The 2 line was it 6 and 8, I think it was, or 8 and 10, I forget now.
Yeah, yeah.
So we got those, yeah. All right, I have a motion to approve the minutes. I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Financial reports. I see I have a year-to-date
Yeah,
already. Well, we're almost done with the first quarter.
well, that's, yeah.
Wow.
Wanted to make
All right,
sure-
expenditure and revenues.
Take them through it.
I honestly don't have any specific comments. I think everything's trending as anticipated. You'll see some elevation in the principal and interest lines, just because of timing. We paid some we made some big payments early on in the year.
Mhm.
You'll have the 53% spent in the executive line is largely due to the town meeting expenses that we've obviously paid for. So a lot of that is timing in that line as well. But if there are any other questions or concerns you have, let me know.
Looks okay to me.
Wendy, just so you know, the water sewer billings are done. So we're reaching the end of the first quarter. We'll do a billing in April. When the billing is done, that's recognized as revenue. Even though we haven't collected it, when the
Okay.
bills are sent. So in the April meeting, we'll have those quarterlies will show up.
Okay.
Well, before you came, by the way, and I can review it with you later, but Patty asked a couple info sheets or an info sheet with a couple items we put in the next water sewer mailer
Okay,
on a couple issues. We can talk about it
all
later.
right.
Okay, and any questions on All right. I'm good as well. Update on the FY 2022 annual audit process. You guys have been having fun, I think.
We
I
have.
saw you down here with the auditor.
Field work
Party
is,
at home.
yeah, field work is finished. I think they have all the records they need there. I think it will take probably about another month or so for them to give us a draft balance sheet and all of the backup information. I think they have another month right in their contract, end of April.
Correct.
So, but
And this is the
everything-
new one,
everything went-
and they're
this is the
reviewing,
New one.
and that's why it's taking some.
It is
effort.
taking a lot of more time and effort to get the new auditors up to speed. It is their first time looking at our operation, so.
Communication has hands down been a huge improvement.
Yeah.
Comparatively to the old auditor, so I've been very happy with,
Good.
the way that he communicates to Judy, myself and Mark, and his level of detail has been spot on.
Excruciating.
Well, you recommended this change.
Yes,
so-
with there. Be careful what you wish for.
Yes,
What's this $12?
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah,
in 2007, right?
no, I'll tell you later.
That's okay. All right, so we're good with the annual audit process. Let's move on to department head reports. Happen to be facing Brooke, so we'll start with Brooke.
Sure. We have a pickleball tournament this Sunday, so we'll be putting that on. We have two groups coming in, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. That we're looking forward to having that. That will be our 4th annual. We took a little break over the years before COVID and COVID, so this will be the first time coming back to it. We are planning our Easter egg hunt. That's the big news, and hopefully that snow will be melted off Packard Field, so we can do that successfully like we have in the last few years.
What's the date of that?
That's April 8th. So always the day before Easter on Saturday.
That's Saturday before.
Right now, we are, feverishly hiring, looking for candidates, trying to reach out, to get some interest. We are having a pretty big turnover year. A lot of our staff is actually transitioning out of the rec department this year for various reasons.
This is the summer only or
Yeah,
the summer employees?
Either sort of aging out, as we call it in our particular program, or whatever, life changes. So we are looking for staff still, and we keep getting interest here and there, but that is definitely
For the listening and viewing audience, what's the age, the minimum age you're looking?
14.
Low, as young as 14, right?
16,
Okay,
and we love college kids.
we pay well.
We pay
Yeah.
pretty well. But anyway, we're really looking forward to completing our team. Fairly soon. We have a wilderness first aid course happening May 20th through 21st. That's the same one we offered last year. And it seems that both the AIA course and our course, happening, we do ours in May, they do theirs in November, is working out great. So we're going to continue doing that. I did put the boats on order, the pedal boats,
Mhm.
so those will probably arrive sometime in April. And they'll be stored here before, while the snow melts, and then we'll figure that all out down there at the pond. And then spring after school clubs, we are doing some, introducing our new session for after school, and also introducing some new clubs.
Presume that's all coordinated with the principal and,
Yeah, we come up with that, and then we, put it out to the school to hopefully, interest the kids. So.
Great.
And that's all I have. I mean,
How are the-
I could tell you.
how are the signups going for summer camp?
Oh, so that's going well. We opened on Tuesday to the property owners and taxpayers. And then today at 10 a.m. for the general public, and we had lots and lots of registrations. We've been very busy in our office this week, and fortunately, it seems like people are getting what they want. We only have one person waitlisted right now. And we still do have spots available, but it's looking really good.
Great.
Yeah.
Wendy, Bob, any questions? Brooke, things wreck? All righty, let me go over to the other side and David, what's happening in public safety?
Not too much, a lot of members are getting their research, their EMT research done. We're due pretty much at the end of the month or beginning of April. Still have Colby and Zach are pretty much right in the middle of their Fire One class. So they're traveling up to Bethlehem 2-3 days a week.
Hmm.
But that's going well.
Isn't Kobe the one that's leaving?
No, that'd be Cody.
Oh,
So that's really good. We're just in the very early process of looking to fill that position. Other than that, just kind of switching gears a little amount and slowing down for us a little bit, but some of the town calls are, we had like a random Tuesday with 4 calls all right in a row.
Hmm.
Which was kind of odd, but myself and Jeff taught Stop the Bleed class in Concord to the staff of the Krista McAuliffe School. And I taught Stop the Bleed to the Plymouth Regional High School Health Science class this week. There were 3 courses, so I was there pretty much most of the day teaching a Stop the Bleed course to them. And then just trying to think, other than that, just administratively the post-town meeting kind of planning stuff and
Right.
We'll
Any-
talk about that.
Any tick up in permits now that spring is supposedly
A few
here?
of them are trickling in.
Yeah.
For the first time, Chris did 2 certificates of occupancy inspections
On the
in
same
the
day.
same day. We've never had that before.
Just
so,
for Green Peak or,
one over at Green Peak and then one on Brownstone.
okay,
So 2 COs wrapped up for this week. So looking at reviewed the sprinkler plans for the additions up at the base lodge, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And then few permits just starting to trickle in here, so.
trickle
Trickle, a handful.
so far,
Yeah,
so far.
I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah, well, I see they've already begun to frame the first building of
Mhm.
Green Peak 2.
Yep.
I heard the hammering one day. I was like, where's that coming from? Is it 3?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess Green Peak 1 was the one
Was the
building.
one.
Okay,
That was the one, yeah.
all right. All right, be more of that, I'm sure.
should we get a nice complimentary letter?
Yes,
somebody
thank
they
you.
can enjoy?
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yes, it was nice, we occasionally receive those and, I'd like to share those with you to show the appreciation that some of our folks have for the good job that these guys really do, so.
Mhm.
That's all I have. I'll
Right,
refer over to Pat.
Chief Payer?
I have a shiny brand new cruiser coming Monday.
Oh, no wonder he's so happy.
yeah, Cheshire Cat back there.
Get ready till probably July, but still, at least the car will be here. So we started the process earlier in September, so we were able to get it quicker. We've had a couple car break-ins, so I'd like to remind the general public that if you don't lock your car, people will steal your stuff. They will not break, well, as of right now, they're not breaking any cars that are locked, they're always unlocked, so. Historically, criminals will go for the easy, so if you lock your cars, that'll be helpful. Another thing I've got, like, this week was hockey, I'd like, again, to remind people that. If you have issues with hockey while they're here, it's easier to deal with it than after they're gone. So I've reminded people to, don't ever hesitate, call us and we'll work with them or deal with the issue at hand while it's going on. But other than that.
That finished last week, right?
Yeah. last
Yeah.
week was last
Yeah, the ice is out and
Already?
they removed it today.
Okay.
So.
Hmm.
I have not talked to Dan or Fred or John about what their maintenance plan is for shutdown
Or the summer plans
or the summer.
Right,
plans. So
and
we will get them into a,
public
meeting
skating
soon.
hours.
Well, they have Shine and Warriors coming up in a month, right?
yeah, so
But
there,
it's a
it'll
month.
be.
Well,
it'll
the-
be
the-
empty I
Religious
anticipate
group?
it'll,
Yeah.
it'll be empty through at least mid-May or late May, beginning of June minimum, but
Right.
I would assume that it's gonna be sometime in the summer before they put the ice back in.
Well, that's a good reminder. I think this is the second meeting I've heard that. If you go on their website, it tells you everything they're doing. They're pretty transparent with their event
Mhm.
calendar of when the groups are coming in and stuff, and that's just easy to access.
Good. No, thank you for that reminder.
We did do a department training last night. Kind of blocked off a portion of Boulder Path Road in front of the academy for about an hour or so. It was good. We focused on the tower truck and chimney fires. So the Waterville Academy was gracious enough to let us borrow their chimney for the training. It's defunct, it's no longer in use, so it's nice. We can't break anything.
Oh, you can, but it won't.
It won't matter.
But we didn't.
Any questions for public safety? No. Dylan, what's happening in water and wastewater?
Operations are going well, no issues there. I've just been trying to work through anything that comes up that is associated with it.
Okay, we get to those
Yeah.
a little later
I don't have much of an update really for you though on either side.
on,
They're going
New staff is being trained.
Yep, yep,
And-
that was, start date was 2 weeks ago. I
Yeah.
think. Started on a Thursday, or was actual start date, February. March 1st, something like that,
Mhm.
March 1st, and, yep, so trying to train up a newbie. And do the best we can, so.
good. Any questions? Anything else in public works, Mark?
Public Works, they're moving dumpsters around. There are a few that need maintenance and a couple that did not have a very good winter, so we're gonna need to be buying a couple probably as replacements. I'll talk about the transfer station.
And the
here
update.
In a minute.
Yeah.
It does look like we're gonna get a snowstorm over the weekend, probably 4 to 8 inches it's been a pretty consistent forecast for about a week. The roads are in very tough shape for plowing, so they'll do the best that they can, but we're not gonna be able to wing anything back. It's gonna be slow going and
Mother Nature.
it's gonna be,
Yeah,
a
hopefully it'll
little bit of
melt.
a hard. So
Yeah, hopefully it'll melt quickly.
I
or more
call it
quickly.
white rain at this point of the year. It's only white for a few minutes and then it melts and goes away. So
Okay.
hopefully that'll be the way it happens. So,
Great. Yeah, anything for public works, guys? All right, Steve, what's happening in admin?
Yep, well, the audit had consumed our department for a couple of weeks here. It's winding down, so now it's just the aftermath of that. Thank you to the town for approving our $100,000 cybersecurity grant. But that now puts quite a bit of work on my table. I already had a call with our IT service provider, who we started scheduling some dates in the next month or two to start focusing on some data migration off of our physical server into a hybrid kind of a cloud environment. They'll be attending our department head meeting in April to give all the department heads kind of first look at what SharePoint has to offer within the Microsoft 365 environment, and how we could potentially be using the SharePoint through this data migration. Excited about that. We are also going to be working with our vendor who will provide us with an upgraded SCADA system over at the water treatment plant and wastewater plant. The SCADA system is our communication tool that allows Dylan and his team to know when things might be going worse than great at either plant, and it provides them with alerts remotely, and that system is in need of an upgrade, and we want to upgrade it, and that grant will allow us to do that. Also, we're going to be moving out of a .org domain into a .gov domain, which is another safeguard against cyber attacks. So that will be happening, probably early May. I'll be working with public safety primarily on how that change will impact them and all the departments actually, but for the most part, we'll be able to utilize aliases, so the existing email.org addresses will still function for a long period of time, but the replies will see a .gov reply. And our email addresses will become a little more personalized, so rather than WV administration, you'll see an sroyer@watervalley.gov, or, the public safety actually already has that, but the rest of the departments have more of those generic email addresses that we're gonna move away from. So,
And I get a new email address for the first time in 15 years. It's a big deal.
Yeah, you should get one,
This is
Wendy, by the
great.
way.
Oh,
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you
you should
need,
talk
you
to-
need to get
yeah.
one, we need to get
Yeah.
Wendy set up.
for sure. Yeah, there are a few more components, tied to the budgetary approval, operating approval at town meeting that puts some added pressure on my plate, but all things that I'll start mapping out and picking away at throughout the year.
Okay. Any questions for admin? All right. Move on now to, here we go. Calendar review. Our next regular meeting is on the 12th of April at 3 p.m. here. The planning board meeting is April 13th, but it's 8 a.m., right?
Yeah.
8 a.m.
At 9.
8 a.m. Well, I can go for 9. 9 would be nice.
It's 8.
It's 8, yes, it is. And we're going to have our strategic planning meeting on April 17th, actually. Yes,
Yes.
Monday, April 17th, starting at 8 a.m.
Wasn't it 9 to 3 at that?
9 to
9 to 3, place TBD somewhere in town.
And of course, before that, March 30th.
Yes,
is the
thank you.
housing.
I saw your notice. Yes, next Thursday, is it, I think?
It is.
At 6
o'clock.
p.m., right?
Yes, here, and definitely trying to encourage everyone to attend, because we need different perspectives, whether you are perfectly comfortable in your house and you don't know what everything is all about, then come on in. If you're desperately searching for housing and you can't find anything, we just need everyone's perspective.
Is the strategic planning meeting a public forum or is it a working?
Well, it
been
by
a work-
definition,
It's been a working meeting, but by definition, it's
Anybody.
public.
Yeah.
But it's generally been staff and the board and I going through our plan for the year.
anybody can come and listen to
Exciting
us.
stuff.
Yeah, the really
Very exciting stuff.
for and
6
then- and
hours.
6 hours. So
Yeah.
you want to come and relive town meeting on a staff level, then
Come on down.
come on down.
Okay. That would be calendar.
And we
view.
think that's gonna be at the Village Condos.
I think we're trying
We
to get
were
it
last
set up
time.
at the
Yeah,
village
worked
condo
out last
meeting
time.
room, but yeah. Folks are allowed to come in, sit and listen to the conversation if they want.
All right, we'll move on to new business. Top of the list, the noise ordinance review. All right. So I think we've gotten some. Go ahead.
So
Yeah.
we included in your packets
Mhm.
a modified ordinance number 8,
Mhm.
noise ordinance, for your consideration. We took what we thought we heard at town meeting, as far as the decisions and the votes that were taken. Basically, the highlighted spots here where
Mhm.
in paragraph 2, where we've enumerated holidays. And the change in paragraph 1 to include Sundays.
Okay.
So those are the initial changes, and I
That
think
you-
you were,
right.
the board was given authority to modify these things, so it's however you want to approach it.
So first thing is to mention that we've received some feedback.
Yes, you have.
I think we have, I don't know, about 30 individuals total via emails of various types and part of a longer list or separately. both residents, voting residents and taxpayers / property owners have written the select board, all of them requesting that, I believe it was all of them requesting that the select board continue to restrict commercial construction activity. And actually, it's really unreasonable amount of noise on all holidays. Though it has to be said that the intent of the vote at the meeting was for the select board to remove at its discretion some of those holidays from that list. So we do have that intent. You know, I went back and listened to that portion of town meeting. And yeah, I have a very poor life. And you know, you work for 40 years, you work 40 years in the government for your country, and you come and retire. And what do you do in retirement? You sit and watch reruns of town meeting in Water Valley. Woohoo. So anyway, I went back and looked at that because obviously we've had a reaction to the vote, and the vote is the vote, and we will do what is required of us as a result of the vote. I think there were two things going on, and it was a little bit confused, but I think everybody understood mainly what was going down, except maybe in one area. And let me talk first about the amendment for construction, unreasonable amount of noise. And I like level better. Is there a difference between level and amount of noise?
Level is you have to. Whoops,
You measure, it's a measure where amount is more amorphous. Okay, yeah, we do not have,
More subjective.
right, and
Some towns have it by decibel.
we do not have a,
I'd like to know what machines they're using.
yeah, but they do have in their zoning, they have specific decibels. We had looked into this when we revised the noise ordinance, what was it, a couple years ago now, I think. And, you know, in terms of the impact on staff, the type of technology needed in order to do what some other towns do, where it's not just times of day or evening, it's a decibel level at different times of day. And we decided at that point, we're not going to go down that path, that we keep the general structure that we had, which basically limited unreasonable or set a standard of unreasonable level, amount of noise on certain days and on certain hours. An unreasonable amount of noise being defined in the ordinance as, this language always trips me up, but we have it here somewhere. A noise which may be from adjacent to public shall be permitted. I think we do. At one point, we had a definition for unreasonable noise, but I don't see it anymore. Maybe we took it out. Any event.
It's just
Noise
below
that
the
is created but
exemption.
not
It's-
limited to the use of chainsaws, blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's just the noise level, but it's in the ear of the perceiver who then complains to public safety.
It is, shall be defined to mean
There we go.
noise
Thank
that
you.
is created by, but not limited to, the use of chainsaws, electric
Oh,
saws,
okay.
pumps, bulldozers, similar heavy equipment, hammering, other forms of construction.
Right.
That creates disturbing noise, playing or using any radio, television, phonograph, drum, musical
Right.
instrument, sound amplifier, similar device, or other forms of activities as covered in this order.
Right, and somewhere in there we used to have, maybe I'm remembering the old law ordinance where it requires a complaint. It's not noise that, I mean, you may hear.
They can't
Right,
make
now, if you
that
see activity on a prohibited, on a regulated day, obviously. You're not gonna necessarily wait for a complaint, but you don't go around listening, so that's too loud
No.
and go check it. It's in the ear of the perceiver who then complains to public safety.
And someone who perceives it to be unreasonable.
Right,
And is it commercial construction?
Well,
Or is
see-
it Self, like your own.
it could be anybody, and this is part of what I think. the select board, perhaps should have spoken up at that time and said that, first of all, the discussion was clearly about commercial construction. I think it was Bob, you read or seconded, I don't, it may have been Margaret who read the noise ordinance. And then we had a response from voters, and it was clear that everything was in the context of commercial construction. And we had, the two major comments there were that, well, it did change, but it started out as commercial construction. And the two major lines of argument there were that we need to be more careful about being more friendly to development here, because we need the development for our tax base. And that there are times of the year we're really restricted here in terms of construction and times of year. I think a business owner mentioned fall, May and June as the key periods for being able to engage somebody for commercial construction. And out of that came the amendment for the select board to list holidays where the unreasonable amount of noise standard would not apply for construction activity. And that amendment passed. And it eventually was included in the full amendment, which
Would
passed.
not apply or would apply?
Well, I mean, we would to pick a list. I think the actual language was that a reasonable noise standard list federal holidays for which construction activity is limited is actually, I think, what was said. I think when you read the amendment, so.
Well, the two issues to me were.
Right.
One is the selectman is supposed to list the federal holidays that this applies to.
Right.
And two, that the discussion eliminated Sunday.
Well, that's the second stream that came online.
So to me, those are the two big issues we're dealing
Yes.
with.
Exactly. So, I mean, the responses that the select board got that resulted from the town vote meeting, as I said, all were to select no holidays. I want to make sure I get my language right. For which to allow no holidays for which construction will not be limited, right? They didn't want anybody, they didn't want any of those holidays picked. That was the
In other words,
choice
pick all 11.
as
federal
limited,
holidays.
as limited. But I think that would violate, unfortunately, for folks who think otherwise, I think that would violate the intent of the vote. I think we were instructed to select
Well, I think.
holidays.
It came up, and I don't remember if it was there or before the meeting, someone said there are some new federal holidays, Juneteenth, for example.
Right.
Is town hall open on that day?
And that was
Maybe
it, right.
is, But is that a federal holiday? Do you guys have to enforce?
It
the
is a
ordinance?
federal
That's where it
holiday.
gets confusing.
Yeah.
So I think that's what led to, can you list them? Because we may choose not to do all federal holidays.
I think
That's correct.
I think the reaction to people like Cindy asking us to list all 11 as holidays is partly a reaction to eliminating Sundays.
Well,
I
that's
think
what
it's
drove it.
like, give us a break. If you're going to eliminate Sundays, at least give us all the holidays. I think
Right.
that's
That
what
was
people are
that
saying.
was the sense of it, exactly. And then it did get this commercial activity. I think the question was asked of Chief Payer, would it include somebody, Joe neighbor, working with a saw next door and doing a little construction work, who's likely doing it on a Sunday. And yes, if someone were to complain about that,
That's right.
then that would bring somebody from DPS to investigate
I
and
think the
decide it.
other issue is we're discussing this at 11 o'clock at night after
Well,
half the people went home.
that's,
And so, I mean,
well,
my thought is
Yeah.
that maybe we ought to separate construction and noise as two different issues.
exactly. I
And
came to the
maybe
same
we ought to have a
conclusion.
special town meeting
Or
that-
commercial construction.
Well, I think commercial
someone working
construction
With a sawzall on their shed in the back is one thing, but a whole team of people with nail guns.
is
that's
another thing
something else.
altogether.
I
was
we
coming
should-
to the
I think
same
we should
thing.
Separate these
Yeah.
two issues, commercial, I mean, construction and noise. and-
We have a hand up here,
I,
David.
as your ordinance is written, it's written as all unreasonable noise. It does not separate the two.
No,
Right.
that's what they're
Right.
saying.
I know, and I
Right.
caution against separating those two, because then that creates an enforcement issue on our part.
Hmm.
Where now you're leaving it up to us to determine, oh, is that a commercial? Or is that private? Oh, because they're private, it's okay, but the guy in the commercial can't do it?
Suppose it's all outside construction,
Well, and that's it, that it's,
not commercial or private, but outside
That would
construction.
eliminate what Tim was saying, so like, and I actually did numbers if you want a rough idea of. what
Yeah,
we're getting
please.
Complaints for it, so.
let's not confuse things with the facts.
I went back to 2017, you gotta bear with us, because we did change systems in March of last year, so. But noise calls for noise ordinance, we had 158 in basically 6 years, 5 to 6 years. Out of the 158, only 3 were for holidays. And 2 were last year, and it was the observed day for Labor Day on the 2nd, the observed day for Juneteenth was.
And that was a new holiday.
Yeah,
Right.
which was Monday the 20th, which
Right.
prompted all of our meetings. And the
Right.
only other one was, we got a call on Labor Day of this year, so we had 3 this year alone. We had 3 calls on Sundays, that's it. So. And the other thing we're not seeing, and we had 9 early mornings that were 9 to 13, there's 4 I don't know where because of the old system, but. 9 to 13 calls were too early in the morning to start. We're not getting any past 7 o'clock, we're not getting many on Sundays, because. We're not seeing the Sunday construction.
Right.
You're not seeing it.
But you might know,
Correct, you might now, exactly, so.
and I don't think the majority of the townspeople want construction on Sundays. I think they would like to see one day of peace.
Well, I think this, given the intent of the meeting, I'll just fast forward here because I think the Sunday issue really kind of, I don't know, supercharged everything, especially with the results we got. And I think there is where the select board and as the chair, I should have stepped up and said that there was actually what I would call a category error. We weren't prohibiting work on Sunday. That's how it was presented. Sunday is a work day. Why can't, no, this is a noise ordinance. We're dealing with unreasonable noise or an unreasonable amount of noise that results from work. Anybody can work on Sunday. We're not prohibiting construction companies from working on Sunday. So, I think that's on me. That's on the select board for not pointing out that, but we maybe did not approach Sunday properly. I don't know. I mean, people could have understood that and just voted. That's fine. We still want, I just don't know, but that's, I think, just something that may have led to some confusion. So,
Rich?
yeah, please, go ahead.
There's a lot of confusion when we get these complaints. A lot of people think that it is a ban on construction. It is a noise ordinance. It is a
Yes.
ban on the noise.
And we forget that too
Does not
sometimes.
Prevent
Right,
any of these people being there before their time, setting up, getting their job sites ready. They can do all that. They just can't produce any unreasonable noise before that time. But it doesn't mean they can't start or go
Yeah.
later. And that goes for everybody. That's whether they're a commercial
Right.
builder or
Right.
anyone. So when we are seeing this, we're seeing. A lot of people is like, we're getting those calls, some of those calls that they're starting too early. It's not because they're making noise, but people are confusing it as they're starting too early because they're not allowed to start. That's not true.
right.
They're not allowed to make noise. They can be on their job sites and if they're inside painting or sheetrocking. Where you can't hear that noise, it doesn't prevent them from doing that.
Okay.
And I think there's a distinction there, but people often get that confused.
I think you're right. Cindy, I think.
Yeah, just point of clarification, do you think it would be possible to put something into the wigwag specifying that, so people that read the WAG will understand that there is two parts to this, setting up and the noise factor. So that maybe it will stop the
Oh,
call.
it just goes down to the unreasonable.
Well,
I mean, you can work at 2 a.m. if you truly want to, as long as you're not bothering the people around.
You're
you. So
right.
it's,
Great.
Which would, right. That certainly is something that we could do. The thing is that in favor, the amendment in favor of removing Sunday from the ordinance passed by a 56-33 hand vote. That wasn't a show of hands. Ultimately, the amendment that was read was a show of hands. So I'm assuming it was greater than 65%. It was obvious to the town moderator. But
yeah.
we do have to say for the record that in favor of removing Sunday, it was 56-33 to remove Sunday. So here we are
Let me
today.
just point out that's
Please.
89 votes. The first three bond.
Were
articles,
120 some odd
So you can't
votes.
say that half the people left. Some people did leave, but a good majority of the
Right,
people were still there
and-
and voted.
We're all responsible voters, and it's up to you to decide, how long you want to put. And I get it. It was a very long meeting. This was at hour, almost at hour 5, 4:55 to 17. 5:17, that was it, 5 hours. So it was rather late in the night. So, but that's what it was. We had intended to do it over 2 nights, but then Mother Nature threw us a curve and we decided we're just going to try to get this done on one night. And maybe that was a mistake for some of the later votes, who can recount it, which way it is right at this point. Also, there were no hours determined for Sundays, right? I assumed that it would be the same as Saturday, but that's not a good assumption in retrospect. Sundays were removed, but again, it wasn't for construction work. It was to apply the unreasonable noise standard. We were not instructed or given any type of implied understanding of what hours that was to hold for Sunday. So that's something as well to consider. So we've got options here. And I think you mentioned one of them. We can decide here and now as a select board, what holidays will be subject to the unreasonable noise standard. And what hours that Sunday will be, unreasonable noise standard will be applied.
Well, Sundays has been excluded.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're
How do you
right.
apply hours to something
Yeah.
that's been excluded?
Yeah, but every day has a set time.
We have-
It would be like every other day then, wouldn't it?
Well,
No, Saturday is different.
Now, I think the assumption by people was that Sunday would
Be like
but
Saturday.
it was never spelled.
It was implied, as I said, it was implied that it would be 9 to 7 versus 8 to 7. So, but it was never said. So technically, I think we could say, okay, Sundays are no longer restricted, a restricted date, but what are the hours where that it would, we in other words, we can change it, we can make it restricted from 11 to 4, for example. I'm not sure that would be congruent with the intent of what people voted. So we could decide here now, we've had this discussion now, we could hold a public hearing and say, okay, we've got this vote. This is what so we can make a decision. Here's our decision. Have a public hearing and then see what people say about our decision with regard to holidays and Sunday hours, if we were to treat it, say, like Saturday or something else. Or we can have a special town meeting. A special town meeting can be called by the select board. And as long as it's not a monetary issue, it's up to us. We can arrange it, we can call it, and voters can come and we can revisit the issue, basically. Or 50 voters can petition to have a special town meeting. So those are the options in front of us. As I said, we're not allowed to talk to each other ahead of time, so I throw all that out there.
So I saw 3 letters. You said there were 30 responses.
Because we're.
Well, one letter had a whole bunch of people in it.
Oh.
Yeah, yes, I think they all got together and decided rather than sending in their
I think
emails.
The email was sent around, in favor of preserving all 11 federal
And
holidays.
anything about Sundays?
In particular, because Sundays were taken off the table, unfortunately, that they should not have been taken off the table, but they were. So give us something as Bob said.
And in my mind, I can't help but think that, you know, if people are thinking about thinking about holiday weekend, not a
Yeah.
holiday.
That's
So we're going up for MLK weekend. And I
right.
can't help but wonder if on those weekends, I don't know if this goes completely in the face of what was voted on, but if on those weekends, those Sundays should be preserved as holidays, like. If a. federal
It's
holiday
part of a
falls on
whole,
Monday,
Right.
Exactly.
It's part of a whole. So you look at things like Memorial Day or Labor Day in particular, which are
Mondays.
and people are out, you have barbecues, you have, and there's so many events going on around town, like at Town Square, you know, with Chowder Fest, I think was
Yeah.
last, you have things going on during that time where it's through the whole weekend.
Exactly.
It's not just on that day.
Right.
The Regatta, I think we do over the Saturday before Memorial Day. Did we do that I think
No,
this
that's
last
the
year?
summer.
That's the middle of summer.
The end of-
Like August.
It's August.
It's
Was
the
it?
fishing-
Oh, no, I'm thinking the fishing derby.
Fishing derby.
Yeah, it's water. I knew it was one of those. A fishing derby, I think we did on Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, you're absolutely correct. It's a time when people are picnicking, barbecuing, there are events going on, and it's not just that one
I
day.
don't think we got the authority from the town. I think the authority that they gave us is to pick of the 11 federal holidays, which ones we want to.
You can pick up
Observe.
11, you just have to list them.
I don't think we can add a Sunday of Memorial Day weekend, for instance.
Right, it just in my mind flies in the spirit of, you know, you want to preserve the,
Yeah,
which makes me wonder, you know.
Right.
Down the path of a town meeting, you know, if we have those different options, is that something people would want us to reconsider? Or would want to reconsider?
It would open up a much broader discussion
so.
of this whole issue.
So. If we have a special meeting.
Yeah, special town meeting.
Matt,
Oh,
what do
but
you
we'd
think-
have to
what do you
frame a
think of that,
warrant, right?
Mark? Special meeting.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a special town meeting. I
Right.
think there's a 14-day notice or something like that. We can check with town council the way to announce it, but you can do it for a non-monetary warrant article. And you would do a warrant just like a regular town meeting, and we post it and notice it. And
I'm in favor of that, unless there's some really good reasons why we shouldn't.
Yeah, Cindy, yeah.
Can I ask a question of
Yeah.
these guys? Do you get complaints about the music on weddings at a certain time of night? Is there,
Mhm.
I'm not asking to put anything, that's not my question,
The noise ordinance goes till 10,
till 10.
but I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the second, and we've only done it once, maybe twice, we approved till 11 o'clock.
Okay,
Not last summer though.
No, but I mean, it just overall, I think there's been twice the selectmen have agreed to
Right.
let it go, even, so at 10:05, we're getting a noise complaint, absolutely.
In fact, last year, we contacted as a town, we contacted the wedding planners
Yeah.
and said,
But Cindy.
don't come and ask us for extensions.
my confusion stating this is that you're saying construction is starting, or noise ordinances, what's the time limit? What is the time?
Monday, Friday, it's
And
8
holiday.
AM.
8 AM to
7 PM.
well, to 10 PM is
10
the
PM.
unreasonable, but we were talking about a subset construction, which
Okay.
was to 7 PM.
That's why I'm asking, should that have been included in it too? I mean, that's where the confusion for me comes in.
I think you, as Rich did, look at what was said. Take what was said the way you hear it, come up with the ordinance modifications that you would do based on that conversation,
Right,
okay? And then put that into a warrant.
for a special
article
meeting.
For a special.
Will we need a public hearing before that? on the warrant article?
I'll find out.
Check on that.
I think there is, I think you gotta give 14 days notice, and I think you've got to hold a public hearing before you post the 14 days notice.
Right, it was
But I'll
thin
check.
reason.
So
Would you separate the two that you would do?
Well, that's up to the board
Yeah.
and,
I-
you know,
It's just a point, it's a point question.
So I can't find one call where we got a complaint after 7 PM for construction, not one. We don't get complaints, but one complaint, I think, between 7 and 10 in all these years. The next round out of the 158, 150 of them are starting at after 10 PM till 4 in the morning, 5 in the
Okay,
morning for
okay.
parties, basically. So we're not getting construction late at night. We're
No, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm wondering if
Right.
we should separate the two, that construction or,
Yeah.
daily activity for construction, and then the nighttime activity, two separate
Well, but
issues.
we do though, Cindy, in the ordinance, we have a different end time for
We do.
construction.
Yeah.
We have 7 PM
Yeah,
as opposed to the 10 PM.
okay,
So
all
it is
types of
separated
noise.
out.
Right,
okay.
Right.
yeah, I mean, construction was singled out, yeah, so I would, yeah,
So if
Yeah.
we're gonna go with the special.
town meeting.
Town meeting. We don't have any holidays coming up between now and Memorial Day,
That's right,
We can do it between now and Memorial. Day.
Yeah.
We can have a special.
so we don't necessarily have to pick
Yeah,
the,
I
of the 11, we don't necessarily have to pick them, we could.
I don't think well, we'll have to do something for a warrant
You'll
article.
have to pick what you want to put into the ordinance.
Right.
Okay,
Right,
and you don't have to do that today, but
Okay.
we need to do that probably at the next meeting.
Yeah.
In order
Well,
to
the
get
way
it.
I understood it, you wouldn't have to put the holidays, you wouldn't have to list those in the ordinance. You can every year list a different group of holidays for the year. That's how I read it. You wouldn't
Yes,
have
it
to
is
list
every
the
year.
holidays in the ordinance.
It is every year,
Not.
We'll come up with language
Right.
that says that.
Right.
You
What-
know, on this, by this.
Right.
thing for selectmen,
Right.
Must at a publicly called meeting, properly called meeting. Make up the list for the coming year. So, I mean, that's verbiage that we
Yeah.
can put in the order.
what changed, Patty, and I think you did a great job in trying to corral all this in. It read as it was read, it shall be permitted at any time on Sundays, federal holidays, and any observed holidays. That, what was approved, that through 2 amendments, that was changed to on federal holidays as listed by the select board.
Right.
And it was, I think the question was asked, and you answered that it would be every year, that the select
That's what I
board,
assumed.
right, and well, the
Maybe
select
that
board didn't
needs to
challenge
say
that.
Determined annually by the board. of
So-
select
Or
board
maybe it needs to
on-
say not changing annually. I mean, maybe.
Well,
people
it's-
would Rather have consistency.
It's up to us,
Whatever you guys
Yeah.
want.
It's up to us.
Guys want to
Right.
present it.
Yeah.
to the extent we want to fold into this new warrant article that we would present at the select town meeting.
Mhm.
To the extent we want that to reflect the vote, it will be our call.
So why don't we do this? So you have, this came from Patrick, Dave and I,
The draft,
the draft that is
Right.
in your
Mhm.
packet,
Mhm.
okay? So look at this, use
Yep.
this as the starting point and mark it up. And then at the April 12th meeting, we'll go through this and we'll come up with the way you want it to be worded,
right,
okay?
right,
Then we'll turn that into the warrant article.
right, and
okay?
then we'll just have another,
And
well,
in between, don't you have to make it the new ordinance before? you-
Well, it is the new, it is
It is
it is this. Well, you should pick, you
you're
should-
right, should we select now?
should
Sundays, we need to
select.
pick a time for Sundays.
yes, pick a time for
And-
Sundays and pick the holidays that you want this to apply to.
Right,
You have a recommendation here
right.
from public safety. And
Well, do we need, I mean, it just happens that this is the meeting we're having now. Can't we pick those holidays
right
at
now.
the April 12th meeting? I mean, is there any reason why we have to pick it? I think we have to deal with
Yeah,
the
there are
Sunday
no
issue.
hol-
There are
none-
no holidays.
There are none of
It's the
these.
Sunday that comes
Well,
before April.
well, I
12th,
said-
so I just wanna know-
On Sundays, no, I said on Sundays, not the holidays. But the Sundays we need to address today.
Yes, the Sunday time,
Easter isn't a federal holiday.
Right,
but the Sunday time thing should be determined right
Yes.
now.
Because it is in
The
effect.
federal
It
holidays,
is,
we can wait.
it is in effect until, as of the town meeting vote. So Sundays are
That's the
not
same as
in it.
Saturdays, or whatever time they
Or
determine.
whatever time you determine, I would only ask that you get an initial time and or the holidays, just because as building permits come in, I want to be able to give that information
For the
to
coming
these
summer,
people.
So
that
waiting
are-
but let them
Who
know
are
that
3
it's gonna
weeks.
change.
Who are working to say, hey, you can't, this is when you can't work, and we will be handing that out when they get their building permit. So I'm
Okay,
just-
that's fair enough.
I'm just for you to consider.
No, that's a good point. I wasn't, and it is, what, 3 weeks before we have our next, roughly. Almost 3 weeks before we have our next meeting, so maybe we should address,
And then it would be.
Right.
like Another 3 weeks after that in theory.
Yeah,
for
it'd be
town
another
meeting.
3 or 4
So
weeks,
roughly
so
6 weeks
it would
out.
be just before Memorial Day.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's then address the two issues, the federal holidays. And then we'll do Sunday hours, whether we want it to reflect just like Saturday or something else, so.
So do that for now and then work on refining on our, on April 12th.
For a warrant article for further, since this has
Okay.
raised a lot of
Yeah.
issue. So the recommendation, I know you guys don't have this in front of you, but the recommendation from town staff, at least what they heard. The holidays they picked that were an unreasonable amount of noise. No construction activity that produces an unreasonable amount of noise which may be heard from adjacent and or public property shall be permitted at any time on New Year's Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or their respective observed days.
Well, I think it was the observed days that people had an issue with. They did not.
That was
the
taken
groups
out.
that voted that
You're
against
absolutely
that.
correct.
Right.
I noticed that as well when I was looking at it. You specifically asked whether you should include observed
They
days,
wanted
and they
observed.
said stop at
That was
the
amendment.
federal holiday. So that is correct. Now,
So it would be a period after Christmas?
Yeah,
yes. So I think now this list, I think, was built on the idea that the town offices are not open
Correct.
that
These are
day?
the holidays that the.
of the
town
11
office-
federal holidays.
Correct.
These are the ones the town not open.
We are open all the rest.
Okay, so let's discuss this. I mean, my view is that, I mean, I'm fine with Memorial Day, 4th of July and Labor Day, because those are big family barbecue, picnic, outdoor. Long weekend type of, maybe not 4th of July, but Labor Day and Memorial Day. So,
except 4th of July moves throughout the week. So he's got to keep that in mind. It's not necessarily a long
Mhm.
weekend, but we're looking at just a Wednesday.
Right, so-
yeah, I would leave that in.
By taking out
Right.
Observed, yeah,
the observed, that Friday or Monday, if it's on the weekend, work is going to be allowed.
right.
Yeah, there's no way we can.
Or if it's on a Wednesday, it's allowed that Wednesday, not allowed.
No,
that
Not on a
it's
Wednesday.
allowed that
Any other
Wednesday,
day
but
around
Any
it.
other
Other
day.
day around it, but
Right.
there's, I think it was, the question was directly
That was
asked.
Right.
They
Yeah.
did not want
Right.
observed holidays.
Right,
Um,
right.
Yeah,
Unless you
one-
want to
one
be,
more thing.
unless you want to be sorry, put my poli sci hat on. Are you a representative or a trustee, right?
Hmm.
Do you represent the voters exactly how they voted? Is that your job? Or are you a trustee of the public good? And even if the voters vote a certain way,
Right,
in your judgment, that was not the way we should go for larger reasons.
right. Well, I think it's one more reason to look at having.
And I think the answer to is we're gonna go to we're going to special, to a
They're gonna think
special,
about this again.
we're gonna go to a special town meeting, so,
Well, I still
Yeah.
think the voters were clear that night what they wanted.
Yes.
And you have to act on that, whether you then decide to
Right.
propose
Sure.
a
Right.
change to an ordinance that comes out as a
Right.
result of that, that's a separate topic.
yeah, no, I think that's what we're trying to do, Patty, in a very awkward way. So we removed observed. And so that we've come up with the list, at least town staff has, I think it's a good list. I'll leave it
I
to you
mean,
guys to decide.
I would add MLK weekend and President's Day weekend, partly just to preserve a little more peace and partly because
Okay.
it's winter time and who's working outside anyway.
Okay, we were given the,
Yeah.
yeah. Bob?
So we'd be eliminating Juneteenth, Columbus Day and Veterans Day.
I'll give you
Correct.
the exact,
Right.
yes, so, We have New Year's Day, you wanted to add MLK to the list,
Yeah,
Washington's birthday,
yeah,
Or
or
President's
President's
Day.
President's
whatever.
Day to the list.
Yes,
We have Memorial, Juneteenth, Independence Day would be allowed. Independence Day to the list, Labor Day allowed, Columbus Day.
no, not allowed.
That would not. be-
Sorry, Labor Day not allowed, Columbus Day allowed, Veterans Day allowed. So it'll be Columbus Day, Veterans Day, and Juneteenth of the 11 is what you would
So we'd be down
recommend.
to
That's
8.
what I would suggest.
Those 8, yeah,
Yeah.
Bob? Until we go to town meeting, just to make a decision at this point, as Patty said,
I'm good with that.
all right,
I think Veterans Day is important,
I do too, but
and I think. There are laws about Veterans Day and can you even have school on Veterans Day, that kind of.
oh, okay.
You know, that as a strategic negotiating point
Maybe you want to save that for non-public.
against Sunday. You know, the fact that Sunday got thrown out,
Right,
I mean, it's, part of me says, let's do all 11 and let it. Come up at the special meeting, but
Because what's a Monday holiday without the Sunday before it?
I'm not disagreeing with you guys. I think that, okay, now you're acting more like a trustee than you are reflecting the will of directly the will of the voters. Remember, we're gonna revisit this.
well, the will of the voters was the selectmen.
For people who work full-time, own property here and have those holidays, certain days that they can do work. To their own properties, and you have to account for that. And I know I live here. And weekends are very quiet, and during the week, and especially in the summer, the weed whackers, the leaf blowers come out. And the.
It's worse than the construction
it's
noise.
terrible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's, you know, one landscaping company comes and does this house, so you hear the leaf blower there, and then they move to the next house. And they're all around you for hours, and
Yeah.
it's terrible,
Yeah.
so.
So again, I think the reason we're picking today is so that as Chief Noyes mentioned, he may start getting requests for permits and so forth to do work. Veterans Day, I mean, I agree. As a veteran, I would like to see Veterans Day observed better. But I don't think it's going to be a major issue right now. Because we're gonna revisit this. I don't think you're gonna get a building permit that's gonna go all the way to Veterans Day before we get a chance to look at it in April or May.
Yeah, no, I'm just your consideration, just to be able to pass along that information. but-
Yeah,
Because
and that it may change.
we do have some long-term projects
Right,
that are going on. I'm gonna have to update the folks that are currently doing the construction versus any new permits that are coming in too, so.
right.
And I just want to make sure that we're consistent. You know,
And can
that-
people get exemptions for
Okay.
Yes,
something, if something?
it's written into the noise ordinance, and
they can-
perhaps that was something we should have stressed as well at the meeting, that there already is an option or a path forward for construction activity on a restricted, if we can just use that term for shorthand, on a restricted day. And that's and companies have come, both in terms of hours and holidays. So, well, it's a 3-person board. I mean, however you guys want to approach it. I mean, I just want to put something
think
down
about
on the
Veterans Day?
record.
Yeah, I'm happy adding Veterans Day.
So just eliminate Columbus Day and Juneteenth.
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
9.
And then it's just the hours on Sundays.
do we want to treat it like a Saturday? I mean, that, or do we want to treat it as something more than a Saturday? Because,
More
I-
restrictive than a Saturday or more
Mhm.
allowed, okay.
I do it the same as it's been,
Same as Saturdays.
9 AM till 7.
that's what Saturday is.
Yeah, I do the same thing on Sunday.
on Sunday for now, until we have an opportunity to,
I mean.
again, this is gonna be
easier.
readdressed.
Yeah, make it easier to communicate.
Right.
I guess.
Well, and it may be more of an issue between now and when town readdresses it again, because we'll have a number of Sundays between
People
now
will
and
have
then.
Experienced it, that's true. Yeah.
So, and we can see, we'll have a little bit of what
Mhm.
will happen. So keep the hours the same as Saturday, be easier, obviously. And it's
Yeah, that's
implied, I
fine.
think it was implied, right, Patty? I mean, it struck me that was implied by the voters. But again, the understanding is for everyone listening out there, we're gonna revisit this. We're just putting a marker down based on what the town voted on. And now we're going to, do we need a vote to vote for a,
So yes, you would be voting on paragraph 1
right,
to insert the word Sunday and Sundays. In the last sentence, leaving the time 9 AM to 7 PM. That's the first part
right?
of the vote. And the second part is that we're modifying the list of holidays to be New Year's Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Martin Luther King, President's Day, and Veterans Day, period. And we're removing or their respective observed days.
Right.
Okay, good. So.
All right.
We
And I
will.
think had I any inkling that the discussion was gonna go anywhere that night, I might have taken a poll to say, do we wanna stop? But once we got into it, we had.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was,
um,
as I've ruefully said to a couple of people. Unintended consequences can really bite you in the butt. This was never it was never our intent was to change it, but not the way it is, but it is what it is, and
I just.
it was a long night.
Not that anything will be different if we revisit it, but.
No, we
It
have,
was a long discussion and.
Yeah.
Right.
um,
I think we've satisfied what the voters who were there at that time requested, or instructed the select board to do.
Yeah.
Even though there are many people who disagree with it. We've selected holidays. There are 9 that, the unreasonable amount of noise standard will apply. And we've added, we treat Sundays now as if like a Saturday.
And just as a point of order, we'd also be changing number 3, adding Sunday in there. right?
Yes,
Yes,
sorry, I missed that.
Okay.
yes. So how is someone going to repeat all of this, for a motion?
I just,
But he said, I'll move what Mark said.
All right, this is, everyone's clear what we've done.
paragraphs 1, 2, and 3. are
Okay,
changed.
those changes.
Right.
We have a second, all in favor?
All right,
Aye. Okay, so now do we need to have a vote on scheduling a special town meeting?
Yes, so what would you, I'll call town council to make sure on the process. Do you want to make a final decision on that on April 12th?
yeah,
We
Okay,
not have to
so-
vote
so
until
why
April
don't-
12th?
Why don't we advertise what the decisions that you just made?
Right,
You guys get some feedback over the next couple of weeks.
that's what I'm afraid
If
of.
you, well, yeah, but if people aren't happy, then, and you know
Right.
that there are gonna be people that are
Yeah,
gonna be not
absolutely.
happy, but. And then we'll make a decision on the 12th about the special town meeting, Patty. If you can be here, we'll set up the process for calling that and. Figure out where it's gonna be, figure out how we're gonna do it.
So we're really only deferring the vote until we can understand the process better,
Yeah.
but it's our intent
To
To have
have a special town.
to have
meeting.
And
a
if we
special
are
town
gonna
meeting.
have
Right?
a special-
I'm sure you're looking forward to that.
No, it's fine. But are there other things that are coming up that are non-monetary that might be on?
I've thought about
next
that
year,
too.
maybe we get them now and make town meeting shorter next year. You know?
I've thought about that too, but I worry about
Oh
the
my God.
Pandora's box of that.
No, I would urge caution in doing that.
Okay.
Because you do kind of disenfranchise people because people don't always hear about things and we're always getting comments about, I didn't know, I didn't, so if there's something else, I mean, this is an item that is getting a lot of talk around.
It's really
town.
seized the
People are
attention
aware.
of town. I mean, if there was a
Yeah.
close vote on something that wasn't non-monetary, like 1 or 2 vote difference. Maybe, but
Yeah, maybe, but I would just urge caution in taking on another topic. Yeah. I think it's better to stay with one. And if we run into something that we need to do in July or August that can't wait until March, sure. We can bring it up if it's getting a lot of buzz around town, and there's gonna be stuff like the transfer station that we'll have public information
of which.
meetings on, not a town meeting.
all right. Have we beat that to death?
I think it's very thoroughly.
Sorry.
All right, well, that was the point, right?
addressed.
That was the point. All right, thank you, everybody, for input and help as well, and thank you, Patrick and David, for putting together, a basis from which we could have this rather long discussion. Okay, so actually, people will be interested in this next item of business, the Route 49 repair project.
So it
Yes, there's one
appears-
coming.
It appears that the bridge down by Chickenboro Road on Route 49 is going to be repaired this summer. There is an informational meeting on March 29th. It's a Wednesday, March 29th at 6:30 PM at the Town Hall Meeting Room in Thornton. It's on, if you want the address to put in your GPS, it's 16 Merrill Access Road. It's right off of Route 3. So at that time, DOT will be explaining the construction and going through, I guess they're gonna have to close the bridge some of the time. There may be detours at times while they're working on it. So it'll be important. We're gonna go, somebody from the town will go, because public safety is gonna need to know how to access. So it's just important that if you want information on it, Wednesday, March 29th at 6:30 PM, Thornton Town Hall Meeting Room.
So somebody from the town will go.
Yeah, somebody from our staff will go and we'll
Find out the details. I mean, we don't
Find
know,
out
right,
details.
we don't know if it's gonna be like a complete closure or
I-
like close one lane, one side and,
Right.
one
So
use traffic.
there's public transportation needs, community goals, protect and enhance the environment. All of those things are gonna be discussed at the meeting.
And I assume anyone going from our town would represent the fact that they're messing with the town economy in the summer and to,
Well, that would
Because-
be the impact, that would be
Yeah.
the transportation needs section of.
Yeah.
Yes, and again, we gotta get presented what the plan
No,
is.
of
We have
course.
no idea.
of course,
So,
That'd be the first step, but of course, if a representative from like the Resort Association
yeah.
would like to hear directly.
Do you think that meeting will be zoomed?
they do
didn't say.
Zoom some of their meetings. I don't know what their plan is for this.
They did not say,
There's nothing
There's
on
nothing.
the hearing notice that has it.
Says it.
I don't see any.
No, if you look
There's
at
a
the
phone
notice.
Number,
yeah,
Well, the phone number is for sign language
oh.
interpretive
Yeah.
Right.
services.
in the public notice, they do not mention Zoom or give a Zoom link.
And on Thornton's town website, there's no indication of Zoom either. Just the post.
So I would assume not.
Okay.
And it is a red list bridge in case anyone,
It is a red list
Which
bridge,
means-
so the repairs have to occur.
and they're extensive presumably.
Yeah.
And of course, we want them to.
Well,
Yeah,
that's-
we
yeah.
want them,
Right.
so
Done.
yes,
Just
as
how to
as
do
the
it.
receiving community.
Yeah.
We want them.
Okay. And now for something really exciting, the tax year 2022 equalization report and certificate approval. Where do we need to sign?
Well, yeah, but this is.
This is exciting. Yeah, well, of
yeah.
course, town manager would find it exciting.
No.
I'm gonna find it exciting.
Exciting.
Right. Oh, no, don't tell me we're gonna be below the,
Yes, we
we
are.
already are below.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
oh,
So
So I don't know.
what this means, and I don't know if
perhaps Wendy needs
Yeah,
a little
Wendy
background on
needs
what
a
this
little
is about.
background. So every year, the state of New Hampshire looks at sales between October of the prior year and September of, I'm sorry, October of 2 years prior to September of last year. And so remember, our tax year is April 1, so all of the values that we placed in effect for the revaluation were as of April 1, 2022. This analyzes further forward to September 30th of 2022. And then the state analyzes those sales and they give us a ratio, right, which we're trying to stay as close to 100% of that fair market value number. This year, sales prices continued to increase after the April 1 cutoff, right, where our assessors stopped, and they continued to go up through September 30th. So our ratio is very low. We are mandated by statute to keep the ratio between 90% of fair market value and 110%.
We're not even close.
And
Single-family
now,
homes.
single family homes, now this is just a draft. We have not finalized it. But based on the information that we've submitted to the state, we're expecting that single family home ratio will be somewhere around 75.5%. That single residence condos will be about 88.5%.
So they're just under.
And
Yeah.
those are just under. The single family homes are the ones that the prices are continuing to rise. And we've looked at sales from October 1 of 22 to now, and we're seeing the same trend. So I would expect that these ratios are going to be in effect. And the other possible outcome, we won't know until DRA tells us, but they could ask us to do a statistical update. They won't make us go through a
full-
complete reval.
What does a statistical update?
It basically takes all the sales analysis that you do in the full reval.
Right.
And so you just don't go out to all the properties and investigate. You do all of the data analysis that you do in a full reval. And so we would adjust property values
Basically across the board.
across the board.
Across the board, we do
Yeah,
that this
again.
year.
So what, prior to the assessment we did last summer?
Yeah.
What was the ratio? compared
The
to
ratio
100%?
got down to about 91%.
No, before that, that caused us to do the reval.
Well, the reval was a timing issue. It was 5 years since our previous reval.
Okay, but
But our ratio got down to about 90, between 85 and 90%
before we did it.
before we did the full reval.
But we have to do a
So
full
for 5
reval.
years, it only got down to 90%?
Well, it was up and down because we had done an adjustment during that 5-year period. So we do try to keep it as close to 100% as we can. Sometimes we will do a statistical statistical update if we see that prices
Right.
are starting to go up or down. So we're obligated to keep it from 90 to 110. If we do that, then we have 5 years. Then you have to do a reval anyway.
So we were doing that,
So we were doing that,
and then we hit the
each
5-year mark where we're required to
Right.
do the reval.
and that's why we did the,
And we did the reval, and we got.
in 22.
We got our new
and
property values.
We got our new property values,
Right.
which we analyzed at the time to be around 95 to 97%, I think.
Because things were still moving.
Because things are still moving, the
Right.
sales are still going up.
Right.
But what, sorry, so why is multifamily 2 to 4 units at 0?
There were no sales. So
Really?
anything that has a 0 in it
Yeah,
were no sales, was no analysis.
maybe I'm not understanding what that is. So that's
So a
not
2 to 4
in a
unit is
multi-
like a duplex or a triplex.
Right.
Oh, it's not-
Rather
it's
than-
not 2 or 3 bedrooms.
Rather, it's not a
Oh,
2
the
to 3
entire
bedrooms, it's a
thing.
duplex.
Right, and we only have, I
And
think, a
then
few
we
of those.
have condos, most of our condos, even the townhouses are 6 to 8 units
Yeah, yeah.
in
no,
a
right,
building.
right.
And that's
Single
why they
resident.
go under single
it.
resident condo unit.
Right, so it's not a
Yeah.
single, yeah, I
Right.
got it. Okay, thank you.
So effectively, what this means is that we'll do the statistical analysis this summer.
No, we won't do it, we won't do it in 23, we'll have to budget for it. To do it in 24.
In 24, and that means these numbers may be even more.
By the time we get there, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be off for a year.
And that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay, because we didn't budget anything, we don't have $20,000-$30,000 to.
But I mean, the
do it.
state isn't, it isn't
No,
an
the
issue with,
state
DA.
will say
We
you
can't
have
say.
to do it in 24. Yeah, because you're outside of the range.
and so that'll be a statistical one, and then that, of course, will all get new property values,
We would anticipate, yes, if the sales keep going,
right?
and we'll,
They could go the other way.
they could go the other way, who knows? Don't know.
Okay. So what do we need now?
Nothing, you
Nothing.
need to just vote and sign this certificate that's in your packets.
Mhm.
Is just saying that we provided all of the information that we're required to provide to the state. And we did, we put in sales every month. And we've provided every sale document that we've received to them. So
Okay.
this needs your signature on the left-hand side,
Okay.
and it would be dated today.
So I should make a motion, I will make a motion that that we accept, select board accept the 2022 equalization municipal assessment data, sign the certificate as presented to us this afternoon.
Second,
All in favor? You gonna throw the date in there?
Yeah,
do you
we'll
want us
throw
to
the-
date it?
We'll throw the date in.
I need your pen.
Wendy's first official piece of paper. We need to frame that for her.
Yeah, there you go.
We're gonna hold on to that forever.
The good news is your property values are gonna go up in 24. The bad news is
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
dot, dot, dot.
yeah.
Okay,
Next,
this,
next.
all right, moving on, we're into old business. Water project update, I see,
Hey,
I see it's done, the building is gone.
That's what.
Oh, okay, well, I was hoping,
Well, one building is demoed. They finished the actual foundation, so they still need to break the floor.
right, I saw the concrete pad,
Yeah, they had to bring in another piece of equipment. That's what they've been trying to schedule around with the road band. I believe we're looking at early next week. I haven't heard yet. from
Okay.
Their project manager, a specific day, but they're looking at next week. To
Right.
Get that in, and then try to get it out the next morning. So bring it in, break the floor, cable
Right.
it, and then backfill it.
Okay.
And get the piece of equipment out the following morning.
that's a miscellaneous thing, right, as far as the water project is concerned.
Yeah, it's a big part of the project, though. That was
No.
just a bigger tasks that they had to do. The rest of it is, to be fair, is kind of smaller pieces. It's just getting those pieces of the puzzle to go together. You know,
Okay.
that's the struggle that we've been having lately. We tested well 2 and well 3's pumps, both passed, so those are all good to go.
What about the hydrant that was frozen?
So we have to have more of a discussion about that because
Uh-oh.
there was no damage to the hydrant. What the problem I believe is that it's a high groundwater area and the type of hydrant that was installed is a training hydrant. So what that means is there's a drain that comes off of the riser. So picture how a hydrant's in the ground, well, below the hydrant is a straight pipe. Well, in that straight pipe is a drain to allow water out of it. Well, the problem is when you have high groundwater, water infiltrates into that line. So what's happening is being between the Bad River and the West Branch, as the groundwater is higher and it can come up even more throughout spring and summer. It's gonna fill that hydrant. So that's what happened is they installed it last summer.
Last fall.
It was like August, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They installed it, sat throughout the fall, so filled with groundwater, and it froze, but there was no damage to anything. We pressure tested it and it was fine. That's what was suspected, what looked like it was broken, was that because the hydrant was so frozen, all the water that came up around it was actually coming out of the drain. So nobody knew when it was installed. We didn't have any record of it, if it was a draining hydrant or a non-draining hydrant. So once we found out it was a draining hydrant, that was the conclusion that was made, is that the water forced its way out of the drain. Came up, came up out of the ground around it. That's why it looked like it was broken. But there's just other smaller things that need to be resolved. But I think we're on the right track. The HVAC portion of it, heating and ventilation has been somewhat of an issue. Well, two building, we got that ironed out, so they should be here hopefully next week to get that finished and get them out of here.
Communications is the biggest issue.
It's still an issue?
Yeah.
Still can't find
No,
a
it's
method?
not, it's not working yet, so we're trying to troubleshoot it and get it,
Yeah, that became a power issue, but
and I think it's a power issue, yeah.
Sorry, communications for,
To,
well, let me explain it. Well 3 is a remote well,
okay,
and the only power supply to it is a direct burial line that crosses the river. It's 480 volts. Well, the problem is there's not 120 volt power source there. So what they had to do was put in a solar panel to power their controls.
Ah.
Problem is, they had to change the type of radio that relays the information from well 3 to the water treatment plant. Well, when they did that, they didn't change the power source via a larger solar panel.
gotcha,
So that's an issue that we're trying to iron out now.
okay, thank you.
Speaking of power, still hoping for the generator in May.
Yeah, we haven't heard any future delay on that, so that's still should hold through. But yeah, all in all, we've made a lot of progress in the last week, a lot
Okay,
more than we had been making. So hopefully,
seeing light at the end of this
yes,
tunnel?
yes, that was it.
I'm not saying anything.
Just take
Until
someone
then.
off the next thing. I'm
But
trying to-
well 3 has passed its tests with DES.
Yep.
The
We had iron and manganese.
iron and manganese testing and other, for potential contaminants, and we've passed everything we need to pass. So as soon as we can get it communicating,
It's
it'll be
online.
online. It'll
Excellent.
be ready to go. The pump works, it passed
Right.
pressure tests.
All the
so-
integration's good.
All, yeah, so
What about well, that is,
same thing, same thing.
so they're all three will be
Yeah.
online.
Yeah,
Well, to the extent you want all three online at any
Yes.
given time, right?
but they'll all be available.
Available, that's what I was looking for.
Yep.
Right, because you can play around to get.
Yeah, so that's good. Water project is good,
Well, that was the goal.
getting better.
Yeah, that was the goal. Okay, wastewater project update, anything to share there and the wastewater
No,
side?
Still waiting for the 90% report.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, but is this where do we want to talk about the transfer station?
Well, yeah, I've added to my list, yes,
Is this where you wanted to talk about it?
Yeah. Yeah, we
Okay,
can, you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So transfer station pictures, you have the plans, and just for everybody who's here, we'll get it posted on the town website. There was one here. We can do.
In the bag.
is it
It's right
back
here.
down there?
Right, we need to-
Oh, I see.
on the ground.
No, it's right here. I did a bigger one, so people can see. So this is the tentative layout of the new transfer station up above. And board members have smaller copies of it at their site. It's we have the plans finalized. We ran into an issue with a permitting requirement for an environmental review of this site. At first, we were told by DES that we would have to do the environmental review for the entire project. The line up to the resort,
It's crazy.
the whole treatment plant area, everything. We pointed out to DES that that's impossible because we don't even have a design yet on anything that we could say it's going to be in this area and it's gonna be this type of plant. So they allowed us to pull the transfer station portion of the work out. It's gonna cause a delay of somewhere between 45 and 60 days to get that environmental review turned into DES and get them to evaluate it. We don't anticipate any problems because we own the land. We know how it's been being used for the last 50 years because it's part of the area inside the fence. So
It's not-
we-
it's not a change of use.
and it's not a change of use, really.
And we've
It's
got all the
just-
permits,
And we've got a
Other permits.
wetlands permit
other permits.
already and those sorts of things. However, we still have to go through this
One more time.
process one more time. However, what we're gonna do is take the bid documents that we have prepared, instead of putting it out to bid this week like we had planned, we're going to hand carry them to selected contractors and go over the project with those contractors. Okay, that'll give them an opportunity to kind of pre-prep their bids. And then when we get the environmental review, we can put it out to bid. We will shorten the bid process from 30 days probably to 10 or 14 days. And then we will finish the bid process, select the successful bidder, and we still should be able to get it out to or have it ready for construction to start probably in June. Mid-June, maybe late June, but so we in effect have lost about a month and a half of construction time. It still fits timeline wise into.
And we have a hard date at the end,
And we have the
yeah.
hard date is not changed. It's still 1 December.
up and
The,
running.
the biggest concern that we have is being able to get everything done and get pavement on.
At the end,
The paved
at
area
time of year.
in
right.
November or October. So we'll see how it goes
Right.
with the environmental review and go from there.
But a lack of pavement doesn't mean that we will not be able to
No,
operate.
The
it as required.
areas with the little squares there, those are the dumpsters.
Mhm.
And we may modify exactly how they're set up. But wherever we have the dumpsters or wherever we have recycling operations or whatever. Those will be concrete pads. They will not be paving.
Right.
So we can get those done. As part of the construction period, and we think we can get all that.
What's in the area adjacent to the dumpsters?
It's,
Area in here.
it's paved.
Is it people to walk to the dumpsters or
No, so basically, so here's
drive- yeah.
Triple I Road or Tecumseh Road.
right,
You turn in
drive straight?
and you drive, there's a gate that will be there, somewhere in the area of this culvert. Okay, drive in, this is the attendant shack. It'll probably be moved a little bit one way or another. But basically you drive in, the attendant checks will have stickers on cars now. To make sure that the person is authorized to use this. They drive in, go past the dumpsters, dump their material. Again, where we may move this is the ramp with the C and D can down here. We may move this around in a different configuration. But basically the traffic follows the arrows through the.
So the big paved areas for the dump truck to get in
And the paved area here, so underneath the dumpsters, it'll be concrete, but the other part is paved so that the truck has a solid surface to go on and so we can plow it and keep it clear.
I'm sorry, what did you say was over here?
Um,
Round area.
Yeah, so this area, what we may do down here, this is a ramp where they can back up and dump into the construction debris.
Mhm.
We may move that over here,
Okay,
right? And then this area will be different than what's shown right on
Okay.
this plan.
okay.
But this is intended to be where the recyclables, the metal pile, the appliances, tires, and that sort of thing are set up.
All in the center of
In,
this.
in this center area, and it's gonna be covered. We're gonna build probably a pole barn with a roof. I'm sorry, well, not initially.
Someday, maybe.
Someday maybe, but again, we're limited in scope. Because this is all reimbursable costs under the treatment plant project. So we can't go overboard because stuff we add we'll have to pay for, but it's going to be done with an eye towards being able to do that.
Mark, doesn't the area just after the dumpsters off to the right, that is the yard waste as well?
Yeah, and right, on this area up above, the shaded,
Mhm.
this area up here will be where the
Brush and whatnot.
the brush,
Okay.
and we're not gonna have a burn area here like we currently do. We're gonna start chipping all of the brush. So that'll be where the chipper is and compost pile, that kind of stuff.
What will you do with the chipping? Chip,
We
have you
haven't decided
decided?
yet, but they may be available for
Residents.
residents. and-
Taxpayers,
Yep,
yeah.
and taxpayers, we'll see. I don't know how much we'll have. I assume it'll be quite a bit because we burn several
We get quite a bit of brush.
times a
Yeah.
month. So we get a lot.
Why does
The
the,
shed where we drop things.
The
off,
red shed,
The red shed.
treasure
Yes.
So
So-
official term.
yeah, so
The little red
that'll
shed.
be over
Yeah.
here. In this area where I said we're gonna have the recyclables. We'll relocate the sheds, or we're actually gonna get new ones. We'll paint them red, I promise, so, but yes, so, we will work in an area where we have the community swap shop
Yeah.
area.
Along the lines. I
It
think
will
we
be
would-
more controlled than what's down here
Yeah.
though, right? You can't put anything in it unless the attendant says you can,
Right.
and so.
And we've been working with Rick Smith, and I think,
Mhm.
trying to come up with like a swap shop concept.
Yeah.
Something he
Yeah.
did in Dover,
A lot of towns do that.
right,
Yeah.
where, either it goes in the junk pile or we'll take it for,
Yeah.
see if someone is willing.
So
to
as soon as
take it.
we have the bid documents, that concept will change. It's just what I have right now, so. But we'll present the new one. That area on the bottom is a very large detention pond because if that area is pavement or concrete, there'll be a lot of runoff, so that is a detention pond.
why does Lambert come in? Why does-
So
why does the
we,
entrance change?
well, we adjusted his property line, and one of the things that he has been asking for is to be able to discontinue this entrance. So when we're kind of doing a swap with him, he gave us some land when we adjusted this property line, we gave him some. And so we're gonna move his access, close off his current entrance and have only one access, one driveway cut out onto Cumsa Road, because those would be so close if we kept both of them that it would cause potentials for traffic.
So do we
issues.
have we had deed adjustments?
We will as, once this is in place and started, we've already talked to Will and he's seen this plan.
So that property line adjustment, does that need to go to the planning board because it's town involved or no?
It doesn't need to because it's town involved.
Yeah.
We can provide an update. When I get the final plan that's in the bid package, I'll bring it into the planning board and we'll go over it. But it's a minor lot line adjustment
yeah.
and you know, it really doesn't serve a purpose because the deeds will get recorded by the town,
Okay.
not by the property owner.
And what contractors will you be delivering this to?
Any of our local ones. So you've got Ellie Johnston, Dana White, Andrews Construction, La Tulip,
Okay,
there's several other ones.
so the
that
same
will-
who would see the bid.
The same
typically,
ones who
but
would see the
just-
bid. We just
Right.
want them to have this time that we're sitting here. We don't want to lose this
Right,
time.
this
that the
allows to shorten
environmental review-
the bid.
It
review.
allows us to shorten the bid process.
Gotcha.
Because we know we would not get pavement done if we had to go through a 30-day bid process and
Sure.
all of that. Trying to shorten it.
Okay,
And DES knows the time constraints that we're under, so we've been told by the wastewater folks that they'll try to expedite the environmental review, but I'm not holding my breath or counting on them to get that done.
Fair enough.
Does that answer, Bob, your questions about the project?
we good on the project then? Okay,
Oh, and can I, at the end of the meeting, I'd like to take a field trip because as part of this, we have to move the C and D can and the metal pile and the tires and all that down here, okay, temporarily, because we've got to vacate that area because they're going to be moving ground around all over the place. So we'll take a trip down at the end of the meeting and I'll show you the layout. That's what those dirt piles are
two big
there.
dirt piles, yeah.
Because we're gonna start cutting trees down here and start spreading that dirt out,
Mhm.
like Monday.
Right.
So Monday morning, I've had to use a whip and keep them from doing any tree cutting until we have this meeting, so. That'll be
You
they're
mentioned the
ready to
magic
go.
words, tree cutting.
tree cutting.
Keep
Well,
that whip handy and it may
yeah.
not be for staff.
Yeah. I know we will cut as few trees as we need, as we can.
And they
but-
will be chipped, right?
And they will be chipped.
They will
We
be
have
chipped.
a chipper. We are ready to go.
Crazy guys with the chainsaws.
That's it.
It's just- Moving on before this devolves any further.
I'm excited. I'm ready to
Oh,
go.
boy, yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Fire truck.
okay, yes, we're on to the fire truck replacement update, which is, speaking of capital projects that are gonna hit us sooner rather than later, apparently.
Soon.
Yes. So the timeline for a truck is up to 2.5 to 3 years from now.
Which one is this, by the way?
Engine two.
Engine two,
So the engine two is scheduled to be replaced in 2025.
How old is it?
It's a 1999, so it would be 26 years old at replacement.
Yeah. So if we were to wait until 2025, we potentially went through replacing this vehicle till 2028. And that truck will be pushing, 29, 30 years old. So in order to, secure our order now, so we can get in line, because the actual delivery date for this won't happen till after 2025, when we anticipate actually replacing this vehicle. We talked with the dealer. We are dealing with Jasorsi, which is the E1 provider. They were the ones that could quickly give us a quote on a new truck based on engine one. It's the same exact designs with a few modifications to it as our current engine. That one was replaced in 2014, so they still had our build number, and we said just build us a truck like this truck. And we made a few minor modification changes, removed the generator because you don't need a generator anymore with the 12 new LED lights and local system. But the truck's about twice, it costs about twice as much.
I see it's 717,000.
717,000.
Twice as much as 2014.
Twice as much.
Oh, wow.
So what kind of a truck is it? Brand?
It's an E1. It's an E1 pumper. So just like our tower, just like the tower truck and just like engine one is the same manufacturer, the same dealer that we went through with the other two
So
trucks.
E1's like Maxim or
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
be like Pierce or
Pierce or-
Maxim or.
yeah, E1 is.
E1
is the company.
is the brand.
Yep, so it's the same two trucks. They're same in line. I didn't get hard quotes from Pierce, but I did speak with Holderness and Plymouth who are buying trucks from Pierce. Right now, they're two trucks which are a little different from ours, are in the $800,000 range. So, and they're a little more heavy duty, bigger tanks, that sort of thing than what we're looking for.
Yeah, because of our hydrants.
We've got a strong hydrant system, so we don't need large water tanks. We just need, a strong pumper.
So it says on this thing that it says the specs are attached, but they're not on what we got anyway.
You have them.
I have them here and I can certainly email them to you, or if you'd like to go through them. It's about a 30
I'm
page
just wondering,
document.
if you gave those specs to a Pierce or somebody else.
So they want to do that, the best that I can do is look, say. Give me a price on a truck that's comparable to what we're looking for. Unless if I want to wait, because their process. Is pretty involved, because they go line by line, item by item. The reason with E1, I say, build me a truck like this, they just pull up my build from the previous truck. And they can give us a quote, and then we can make those adjustments later. If I go get a hard quote from those guys. Which I certainly can, but it's gonna be a process, but speaking to those reps. We're in the same boat, it's a 3-year, no matter which manufacturer you're talking to, it's a 3-year wait for a fire truck. And the problem that they run into is the chassis. They're not, this particular dealer had an order for 250 chassis last year. They got 60.
Wow.
But they had 250 orders. So there's such a lag, they're trying to catch up. And he says on average, the cost of the trucks have been going up 7% every 3 months or every quarter. And he says it hasn't been slowing down. He hopes it does, but so potentially if we place our order now, we lock in our price and potentially save ourselves $100,000 for the price of the truck. If we lock this in now, the only requirement that they're asking for is if we do a 5% non-refundable deposit.
40,000,
36.
36.
I thought it said, payment terms 100% payments will be made upon delivery.
Delivery. The rest up, you must pay 100% of the cost on delivery. So whatever the balance is. I had town council look at the terms in there. She has some questions on a couple of the paragraphs that we're gonna have to go over with the dealer. So this the wording in some of these paragraphs is gonna have to change.
I didn't see the 5% deposit anyplace.
So the 5, it's paragraph 19. Oh, wait a minute. So first look at paragraph 11. Look at paragraph 11. So if we had gone to town meeting this year and gotten the authorization for this truck. Their cancellation policy is paragraph 11. And they ask for a 5% deposit and they start building your truck. If you change your mind and they haven't started work, you just lose the 5%.
I don't.
If you have paid, do you have it?
I got 11, but it talks about cancellation, it doesn't talk about a deposit.
That's
Yeah, well,
19.
So wait, yeah, but. It's the same thing, Bob. They call it a cancellation charge. But they would ask for that up front. So in effect, it's a deposit. Right? So if you order the truck, you give them a check for 5%. They then say, okay, you're in our queue. And we'll start the truck as soon as we can. If you cancel from that day that you sign the contract and order the truck, and a date after that they have not started construction of the truck, you lose the 5%. If they have started constructing the truck and you cancel after that construction starts, you pay 1% plus any cost that they have incurred. So if they are 20% through the truck, you'll pay 21%. If they're 30%, etc. So because we would be signing this to lock in the price and waiting a year of the 3 years, we would anticipate that the cancellation cost, if you went by paragraph 11, the truck would be a third of the way built by the time we get to town meeting next year. Then we would be facing a cancellation fee of about 31 to 35%. We don't want to lose that much money. So we went to them and we said, we don't have authorization. What can we do? They came up with paragraph 19 in lieu of that, which is 5% deposit will go to town meeting. If town meeting does not approve the truck, we decide not to buy it, even though they've built it 30% of it, all we're gonna pay is gonna be $35,000.
Is the
Right.
5%.
Is the 5%.
And that's why the date of 4/1/2024 is in there.
That's correct.
So
I
that
just
way
don't
it
think
gives
it's
us
worded
coverage.
right. I mean,
Well, no, and town council will make sure that the wording, that town council is okay.
I don't think
with
it's
it.
clear that there's a 5% deposit. I think, to me, it isn't clear. I see a 5% cancellation fee,
Right,
It's just
but
their wording.
it's
is-
up above in 17, it says 100% of the payment shall be made upon delivery.
right.
I think that's contradictory.
Okay, and we'll work out with town council that's
It would seem as
the
though
way.
if they stated when the 5% was due to be paid.
Yes.
And then it would be,
So I had that discussion with them, and because of the cash flow issue, it was written in there, but he had a different amount of the deposit because he just copy and paste the contracts. And so there was a $50,000 at timeout. We
No,
agreed
we're
on.
not doing it. We're
Yeah,
not doing.
we agreed on
50,000.
5%, not due until July 1st of this year. So we have a chance for tax bills to come in and make that so they're not expecting any payment. The agreement that we have is 5% now to get us in the queue, get this truck ordered online. If by town meeting it doesn't get authorized, and if, so long as we cancel it by April
April
1st,
1st of next year.
which means that we have, town meeting has happened, we can cancel it at that point. The only thing that we're losing is the 5%. If we cancel after April 1st, all right, there is an additional 5% penalty.
Which takes the place of their percentage completion that they've constructed.
right, right.
So instead of that 30 or 40% down the road, we only pay another 5%.
To me, that's moot because town
Yeah,
meeting
we're
will
gonna-
determine if we're
Right.
going to,
Right.
we would cancel that.
And we got
before-
2 or 3 weeks to say,
And that's,
Yeah.
right. So we just
would
call
cancel
them the
it before
next
that.
day and
and
say,
that would happen.
it
So you
didn't
say
pass.
the 5% payment is due in July?
in July of this year.
It doesn't, no, it doesn't say that either.
No, and town council pointed that out, and we have to get that language in there. Yes.
Yeah, I brought that to their attention.
My thing in bringing this to you, and what I would like to do is go back with Laura. We'll make the changes that she's recommending and bring it back to you. I would, we just got this yesterday, so in time for me to put it in the packet. I'd like you to look at it but the issue that we are thinking of, that we're having to consider in order to lock in the $717 price is what the $35,000
Mhm.
number does, okay? If we don't do it, because we're not taking this to town meeting until March of next year anyway, right? Our option is we could just sit on it and wait, but we are dealing with this quarterly price increase that they've been seeing.
Right,
And it could be a much higher number in March.
So how do we deal with the 35,000?
The only place that we have right now is our contingency account. And we can utilize it for this.
We
I
can.
verified it with Laura. That you have the ability to use that for the deposit. We don't, believe me, we don't like it because it uses a third of the contingency very early in the year, but we really have no options, because the longer we wait, the more it's gonna be.
If it
This
goes up
is-
7%.
It goes $7
$50,000.
Exactly.
In a sense, we're saving.
And this is very unusual that we have to approach it this way. We've never had.
We've
five
never
like
had to
this.
do this.
We've never had to do this.
No,
We've
we-
always been able to get the authorization, put.
An order
put our
in.
order in,
Yeah.
and then typically within
6 to 9
8 to-
months. Yeah.
12 months,
Yeah.
we take delivery of a truck. And they're like, you're not seeing this truck for 3 years.
So even now, we're gonna be beyond the
We are,
expected
yeah.
replacement. Yes, Cindy.
So this will give the town an opportunity on the CIP
Mhm.
to start stashing funds, right? You've got
Yes,
3 years.
what I would, yes, so the options open to us, which we'll talk about in September, is. Do we take a big chunk of money, put it in a capital reserve? Knowing that the rest, the balance payment is probably gonna be due in 2025.
Yeah.
Right? We can do that, or. We can borrow for it, who knows,
I do
right?
both.
Or we can do a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we were trying to say is we'll wait until September, October to have that conversation. See what the rest of the budget is,
Yeah.
but there will be a warrant article, we're planning on a warrant article in 2024. To authorize the truck.
Yeah.
And then the funding source will be whatever.
But do we have to wait till the warrant article is so that you can put your deposit down? I'm
No, what we're
confused.
saying is.
That's what we're
take the
discussing now.
deposit.
Okay.
The deposit would come out of the 2023 budget contingency line item,
Okay.
because that's the only place. We do have a vehicle repair and replacement account, but that only has $30,000 in it. It doesn't even have 35. And if we spent that money for this purpose, which replacement of the truck is one of the purposes of the capital reserve, we'd have no repair money.
So if something breaks, then we don't have any money in that account.
Now, so we go forward, the board decides to use contingency money, right? We have some other big crises and we need to do something. We can always go back, modify that decision to take some of the money out of the repair replacement account, especially if he hasn't used it. Say we have a crisis in October
We've
and we
done
need
that.
contingency.
Fire the ladder truck.
That's right, the ladder truck,
Or some
yes,
CIP for that.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We can modify the decision further into the year if you needed to.
Yeah.
We just didn't want to commit the repair account money
Mhm.
up front till we see what happens.
Yeah, I just caution, just because it is a, you know, all the vehicles are good now, but you never know.
Well, the engine that we're talking about replacing a few years ago. We woke up one day and had to spend $25,000 on a pump replacement because it broke at a seam, so.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know
Transfer
what's
case
gonna
during
transfer
pump testing
casing,
or
yeah,
Whatever.
so.
Is it typical to have a 4x2 chassis
Yes,
versus 4x4?
yes, for these particular trucks, yeah. They have on-spot chains. That they're built in with, so they have a chain system, so. Greatly reduces if you do 4x4. It bumps up the price pretty high. When you start doing that, where typically a set of on-spots, is like an $8,000 option versus a $20,000-$30,000 option for.
Well, in the 4x4s that I've seen have been more wildfire, off-road
Yeah,
type engines. You know, they're very specialized for, but
this
that's
is,
my
this is
experience.
just like. This is just like the truck that's sitting out in the bay right now, and the reason why we like this truck is because there is no issues with it, you know, it's a very reliable truck.
How do we answer the question when at town meeting, when just people ask us about other bids?
Um,
We're spending $700,000.
absolutely, you know, anecdotally, and I can certainly. Get these other manufacturers and get solid. Bids for this, but, you know, speaking to their reps. You know, it's a industry-wide, not a specific dealership issue. You know, they have. You know, they've all told me it's 3 years, and then just getting those anecdotal quotes from these other fire departments and what that are buying trucks. They're taking delivery of these trucks this year. You know, I can certainly get some solid bids from them.
And we don't have to put a down payment till July. So you got some time, you could get another bid, I guess.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I would add, Bob, is. I don't think there isn't gonna be an appreciable price difference, right?
Probably isn't.
No, but I'm just saying that the way to respond is there isn't a price difference. It's standardizing our fleet on one manufacturer type. You know, and there's something that way you're not dealing with two different dealerships, you're not dealing with two different maintenance outfits and that sort of thing. So there is operationally, and it meets all of our
It meets
current
our needs.
requirements. It helps us, it is going to be an improvement on the pump side, which is going to have some benefit to the community as a whole when it comes to the NFPA and ISO ratings. So there'll be some insurance benefits there as well. So we are upgrading our pump numbers by buying this particular.
And
truck.
maybe it's just finding out that, you know, Plymouth or somebody bought a similar truck and their price is $812,000.
Yeah,
We
that's
can-
what
I mean, I think we need some,
Sure,
Yep,
yeah. This truck
absolutely.
is a tanker, it's a much larger truck than ours, and they're in the $830,000 range for Pierce.
I think we should have some statistics
Yeah,
like that
we
as
should.
as a minimum.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Yeah, that's
We'll
fine.
get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's a good idea.
Especially with
I think
pre-spending money.
we just subject to criticism if we
Right.
don't.
Sure.
I think we do deploy those absolutely correct and accurate points
Oh, yeah, yeah.
about why we also
Yeah,
like
it-
this
it's- it is
particular
a
brand.
Consistency, we do have regularly scheduled maintenance from the dealership, we do have warranty service from the dealership that. If we have a problem with any of the trucks, they send their, you know, I can call the guy. That comes out and can service these trucks, so,
They're out of St. Albans, Vermont.
yes, yep.
I mean, that's right on the Canadian border.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they come there, if we call them, hey, there's a leak on on.
They have a
this
French
particular
accent?
Truck, they don't.
Careful.
Not yet.
Within,
They say
within
a
3
lot.
days, Get a guy here, for non-emergency. Regular maintenance, so we have an established relationship with this. Particular dealer and the trucks have proven and their service has proven that they're.
Well, it's all the arguments go into when you are balancing price against other considerations, but I think, yeah, Bob is right. A little bit more solid on the others
On the other prices.
and then we'll just go from there. But what do you need from us
Well,
at this point in time?
I think, can I go into town council, bring back
A
a
contract?
contract, a corrected contract? Can I do it electronically and unless there's just something that jumps out at you from the wording changes that she makes, can we go ahead and execute the contract, or do we need to do a meeting again to discuss it? How would you like to handle that?
Well, I mean, is there a problem with doing it at a regularly scheduled meeting?
Well, it's 3 weeks away, 2.5 weeks
Are
away.
we okay with that?
It's gonna have to be.
Okay, and that's fine. So we'll bring it back on April 12th.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, we could have a meeting beforehand.
I mean, yeah, I'm just wondering how
Yeah.
urgent it is.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's-
He's got us in our queue and, his word to me is
Okay.
the ultimate goal is to. Sell us a truck at the end of 3 years and he's gonna.
Well, if something changes, we can always gather together.
Right, if
Yeah.
there was a
Right.
price increase coming because at the end of March or something, I may
Right.
ask for a special meeting next.
Right.
And we'll sign the contract, is that?
But we will get you the contract and we'll start looking for those other prices. And try to have as much of that.
Is there
information
anything
on April
that ties them to the 30 months? So that any penalty on their part if we don't.
Oh, a
get- we don't get it
delivery
for-
date, no later
We
than?
don't get it for 4 years or something?
I don't think it's 4 years. I think we may see it sooner than later. Yeah, he has I think there was a time put in here. It was like.
Well-
800 months or 855 days.
Yeah,
That's okay, but if we get bond authorization. There is a hard drop dead date. We must spend that money within 3 years of town meeting next year. So
no,
it could not go beyond that.
so that would be
So
4
we
years
can
now.
add that to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're already behind.
Yeah,
Said vehicle and equipment shall be delivered by the company within approximately 855 days.
Funny number. Where'd that come from?
I don't know, what is that? 3 years?
What? No, it's less than
2.5
3 years. Is it 2.5?
2.35 years.
2 1/3 years? There must be some analysis they use that shows
I have
that
no
that's,
idea why.
that's the
how they
day
get to
that-
number. I have
right.
No idea, because I put it in there and I go, how long is that?
Okay,
so we good with the strategy on the truck going forward?
Yep.
All right,
Okay, we'll bring it back on April.
okay, any board
Can I
concerns?
give you a quick road project update?
You can.
So we've had a second pre-construction meeting with the contractor, RM Piper, and HEB engineers, as well as the town's project manager, Bill Dower. And they, are waiting for DigSafe. They have not given us a hard start date. We're waiting for the snow to clear so that DigSafe can come in.
Mhm.
And once they see the DigSafe markings, the engineers and the contractor need to make sure that what we're planning to build is okay based on DigSafe. Once they get the DigSafe done, they said it'll take about a week to do that meeting between the two of them. And they will give us the hard start date after that discussion. Right now, it looks like probably middle of May, end of May start.
2 months out.
And so we're a couple of months out and we will see what happens this weekend and see if it keeps snowing.
It's gonna be a wonderful summer with all that construction
was
on
just
Saturdays and
thinking-
Sundays and road construction going on. And the bridge, oh yeah, time to go away for.
A year. No,
No.
no,
Yeah.
but we did talk about impact. Their plan is to go through and do all the drainage
Mm,
on the whole project. And then they'll come back, probably start at Village and Snowsbrook Road and do the corner by Osceola Road and to the golf clubhouse and do that first. And then come back and do the entrance into Tecumseh. They intend to allow two-way traffic in most cases, but there are some times when they have to box out areas and dig it up and replace material. But they said because of the road being circular and having the two cut throughs, that we probably will have detours when they're working on it.
We can have a conflict with the transfer station work.
No, they want to, they'll coordinate that with that contractor. In fact, RM Piper is going to get a bid set. They're going to be one of the locals that we give the transfer station information to. So they're going to have the same earth moving equipment and everything already in, and they need lay down area for materials, so that might behoove them to give us a very good price on the
Yep.
transfer station,
Yep.
because then they can use it. So.
Okay.
But yeah, that's good.
cheap, you can have the manpower to have the cruises out there when they're doing all this.
No, they come with a complete flagging
Oh, wow,
package. They
that's what
will-
it's called, that's like complete fact,
It's in the,
good.
so we shouldn't need any of
We
our
should,
guys,
yeah.
no details.
Right. Good. Any questions on the road project? All right, great. Okay, now can we go to board concerns and directives? Anybody have anything? I have one very small thing.
Nope.
In your, I presume you're going to be going through town when it's a little bit more like spring and checking on all the signs we put up
Mhm.
and whatnot. I'm thinking this is an old sign, not one of the new ones, but corner of West Branch and Boulder Path, by the library.
Mhm.
There's that red sign that says, Livermore Road, Depot Camp. The letters are starting to peel off and everything. Is that a place you were thinking of putting one of the new signs?
We can.
What do you
Yep.
think, Wendy?
Yeah, sure, I mean.
It's confused. I think Livermore and Depot Camp, maybe it needs to be just
Yeah,
Livermore Trailhead, or I don't know.
Yeah.
The connector or something, but
yeah, indicating a trailhead would probably make sense. If that would-
yeah, it's starting to fade away and, the letters are peeling off or wearing off or whatever.
Okay.
Just happened to notice it.
Yep.
So when you go around to do there are a couple of those got bent. I'm assuming it's the wind or something. A
Yep.
Couple of the signs up there were.
Yeah, we usually go through once the snow.
Yeah, and you gotta take care of all signs,
Yeah.
all sorts of signs, yeah. Okay, anything else? No, it's got correspondence,
Got a couple of things in addition to.
okay,
You've got Ray's
yes,
letter to you. And I hope we'll share that with the planning board. His
Yeah.
comments, on
email.
development.
yeah, I
Email.
think what I can do, I don't know if you had an opportunity to read Ray's email, it was in the packet, it's is that one of the
It's towards
emails
the end.
towards the end. So I think as the select board rep to the planning board, I can just refer that the select board has received the letter and would ask the planning board to consider it,
Mhm.
and it's
And
going forward.
It's just, it's some comments about future development and land use and zoning amendments and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Ray was chair of the board of the planning board for a long time, a long time member, so.
Yeah. Expresses concern about the
Expressed
lack of
concerns.
commercial development and commercial land.
Yeah,
And he'd like the select board and the planning board to
Think about it.
think about it, be cognizant of it, and maybe do something about it going forward.
So. We'll see.
Okay.
And then
Another,
the only other thing is this application for a parade permit that I've approved. I just wanted you to be aware.
Yep.
Of the road race. That's
Right.
it,
to that season, right? Road races.
road races.
All righty.
Road rage.
Thank you, Dave.
Hope not. Okay, I think that's all we have for our public session. Do I have a motion to go into non-public?
So moved.
I will second it. All in favor? Aye. Let us know when we're